Hey, welcome into the Friday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Connor Newt here with you on this Friday morning. Hope everybody's off to a fabulous start to their day. Joe Rexrode, how we doing? What's going on?
I mean, am I on camera here? I'm like the little kid at the little kid seat. Hi, give me my little Happy Meal. As long as I'm on camera, we're good, man.
Working on it.
I'd like to know, is it messed up?
Yeah,
Am I not?
it's not connected or something. I'll figure it out.
Okay, that's a different thing. Okay, that's fine. I'm just talking about my placement in the world.
He does have a seat that seems like it's for a small child.
Yeah, like who sat here last?
I think Willie.
You think it would have been Willie? Okay. I saw Jared was in here. With he comes in like once a month to actually do the show in the studio. But that wasn't yesterday. Okay.
I think he was at the ballpark yesterday.
He threw the pitch yesterday.
He threw the pitch. How'd that go, by the way? Did he throw?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, we have video.
I need video.
I imagine if it was terrible, we'd probably already have seen it, right?
I hope.
Yeah. Like it would have gone viral, so I'm sure he did a fine job.
Sure he did. Sure he did.
Thanks, Willie, or whoever did this.
Connor Newt, how we doing? What's going on?
Better now. I mean, can't go wrong with that start.
Yep.
I mean, I'm still getting used to this 4:30 wake-up call.
Well, I hope you don't have to, totally get used to it. Sleep into 11 o'clock.
Yesterday, I got
Saturday, man.
Yeah. Well, I got a show.
Force Company.
Force Company, baby.
What time, though?
9 to 11.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can sleep in a little bit.
You're fine.
No 4:30 tomorrow. You'll
Thank
be good.
God.
Yes.
Please no.
Thank God. We got a lot to get to on the program today. We will be joined by Stilly coming up at 7 o'clock. We'll get his thoughts on the preseason game coming up against San Francisco. TD will be with us at 8 o'clock as well. I have a Rob rant at 7:45. I'm furious with the Tennessee Titans. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show.
Yep.
As well. Joe, I think we would be remiss if we did not start this show with the performance of Joe Milton last night. Joe Milton gets in the game for the Patriots, plays well, albeit against third and maybe fourth stringers at times. But Joe Milton gets in there, almost immediately slings a touchdown pass down the field, has a nice escape from pressure in the pocket. Looked good last night for the Patriots in a game where some of the other quarterbacks did not look so great. But Joe Milton playing really well out there for New England.
I mean, Charles is sitting there texting me, and he's just like, first of all, when he's about to come in, he's just like, oh, my God, these fans are – and then, of course, then the play-by-play of him doing all this stuff, and it's like, I mean, these fans are absolutely just beside themselves about Joe Milton. I'm like, that's cool. It was fun. I loved it. I mean, I watched the whole crappy game until he got in, so I was like, I'm going to stick this out and watch this stupid thing. And I thought he looked good. He's lost weight, which is smart. He's definitely moving better. Great. Right on him. But, in all seriousness, if you're a Patriots fan, do Patriots fans actually want him over Drake May? That's, of course they don't. Drake May is the guy they just drafted at the top of the draft.
3rd overall. I mean, I hope they don't want him over Drake May.
But over Bailey Zappi all day long.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And, Bailey Zappi got a nice long look last night, and there were Patriots fans screaming about that on Twitter, and they're like, don't worry, it's to showcase him for trade. It's like, okay, let's see how that goes. But
yeah, I don't know if they're going to get much on trade, but I think Joe Milton's going to beat him out.
Oh, I think so too. I think he'll be the 3rd quarterback. I mean, almost at the same time last night, Joe, you had Joe Milton in there running around, making some plays, and then Hendon Hooker got in for the Lions and started trucking people in the secondary. So good stuff last night from the Vols quarterback.
It was a good, a showcase of Josh Heupel quarterbacks, and that was a heck of a run by Hendon Hooker. I think that's the only thing I saw, because that one wasn't on here.
Yep.
But I think what was he, like 3 for 5 or something like that? I think that's right. So, yeah, good, good for him. Finally get on the football field, and I know it hasn't been great for him apparently. There's a lot of talk of him being accurate, but he also broke a finger. So, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see how it looks here. He should get some more looks in the preseason, and I still think he's got a chance to be a starting quarterback at some point in this league.
On the Titans front, we have somewhat of a plan for the preseason game that Brian Callahan has thrown out there against San Francisco. We know that Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry, the two veterans that are not going to play in this game, which makes sense. Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry, at least in my opinion, do not need to play in this game against San Francisco. You knew that from an offensive standpoint, if you're going to have Levis out there, it probably serves you well to have the people that Levis is going to play with out there. So not surprising at all that the offense is going to get some run. But it sounds like it's going to be one, maybe two series for the offense, depending on how the drive goes. And then it'll be the Mason Rudolph and Malik Willis show after that. But some pretty good clarity from Brian Callahan leading into what we're going to see tomorrow night against San Francisco.
Yeah, and then of course there's there was no player by player breakdown who's healthy enough or not to play. I mean, like I wouldn't expect to see Snead, wouldn't expect to see Jamal Adams. There's some other guys who are banged up who aren't going to play, but you're going to see, and obviously no Hopkins. You're going to see Boyd, Ridley, I think, and that offensive line and the backs and Levis for, he said, a series or two. So that to me means if they come right out, march down the field and score a touchdown, it's probably going to be one.
Probably, yeah.
If they come out and do a 3 and out, then they'll probably get at least, one more. I guess if they did back-to-back 3 and outs, maybe they'd get a third one. I don't know. Probably one.
You will be in there until you get a first down.
I mean, it's probably about 10 plays is what they're looking for, right, from them. So that's if you're a fan going to the game, and by the way, parking is a little different now.
Yep.
That may not be all that tantalizing, but it's something. It's better than a lot of preseason games. And the offensive line, it's important. Those reps are important. They've they've had their ups and downs for sure. I think yesterday there was a lot of both. Some good. They had a great drive. I think the best drive I've seen in the offense all camp, ending in a touchdown, a Pollard rushing or not. I think maybe it was Spears. It's hard. Like I'm so often like, wait, was that Spears or Pollard? I mean, they're not like hugely different, but regardless, really impressive running touchdown. J.C. Latham blowing 2 guys up and then like letting everybody know about it. So, but then also some of the pass rush stuff, Petit Frere's getting beat by Landry a decent amount. Is Landry the greatest pass rusher in the NFL? No, but
he's a good one.
He's good. And he's certainly better at his position than Petit Frere is. I don't know if it's a cause for panic. I think overall Petit Frere's been fine. You got to keep getting better, but we'll see if those 5 guys working together can look like a cohesive unit tomorrow night.
Well, I can tell you this: I'm going to be in the stadium, going to be waltzing my butt down there for the preseason game, and when the starters are in there, obviously I'm going to watch Levis and see how that goes. But my eyes specifically are going to be trained when the offense is out there on right guard and right tackle. That's the only thing I'm going to watch. I'm going to sit there and watch right guard and right tackle for the time that they're in there, because that to me is the biggest question mark on offense heading into this year are those 2 spots just going to totally nuke this offensive line to where it just totally wrecks the offense out there. So not saying that all of the answers are going to be discovered on Saturday in a preseason game against San Francisco when I have no idea what San Francisco's plan is. But I can't imagine they're going to play too many starters based on the quality of veterans that they have. But going to be paying pretty close attention to the right side of that offensive line, even in albeit limited snaps coming up on Saturday. And I still wonder, like, does Petit Frere get more of a run out there than maybe some other guys? Does Dylan Radens play like a quarter? Like, how long is he going? I'm really interested to see how that goes.
Sounds like a really fun Saturday night.
Yeah, really looking forward to it.
Just a whole bunch of Dylan Radens, Nicholas Petit Frere watching. That's it's
like hold your block for at least a couple plays so we can see a ball thrown down the field. That'd be nice.
Yeah. No, that's important. And then the defensive side of the ball, you're going to see some of these edge guys, different edge guys. Like how's Rashad Weaver look out there? I mean, I haven't seen a ton there. You had the linebackers, Gibbons and Murray, What have you got?
I'm just looking on our stream right now because my father texted me and it says, Joe looks like he's in a hole. You're so far down. It's hilarious.
I mean, who chose this chair to be this low? Does this mean, like, I guess it would be maybe someone really tall, so maybe it was Willie. I didn't realize Willie was.
Like you're just on the ground sitting at the table.
I didn't realize Willie was 6'11". No, I feel really uncomfortable right now. I don't, and I've been trying to adjust the chair. There's like nothing. There's nothing to. I can't figure it out.
I just know if you're watching on the video stream right now, either on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, wherever your heart desires, it looks like it's like bring your kid to work day, and you're with me over here. Little Joey.
Well, we don't have Brennan
Little
anymore.
Joey watched the Lions last night. Now he's coming into work today.
That's right. Don't have Brennan anymore, so I've got some fun kid takes today too.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. What are we looking for from the Titans as they have their preseason opener tomorrow against San Francisco? We'll get into that coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game.
How much you like one-on-one period there? I think you only got one rep today. How much would you like more reps at that if you could get them?
I mean, it's a lot of us, and we work in different things. So, honestly, I get the reps when, so I don't really know that answer.
That's Devondre Sweat yesterday after Titans practice. Looking forward to seeing the big man tomorrow against San Francisco. I saw some tweets yesterday, Joe, of like Houston Texans Twitter. Got a hold of some clips from T'Vondre Sweat. Was like, oh boy, watch out, protect C.J. Stroud from this guy. So Texans fans are already looking at it and saying, oh boy.
Oh, okay.
Guy looks pretty good.
Texans Twitter is worried about him. Interesting.
Worried about him.
He had a great pressure. Did I hear right when Jared asked him something about like when people were talking about you negatively or whatever? Amazing question. ESPN is going to spin off some amazing stories. But did he say just bad question? Did you hear that?
I didn't hear it. I don't know.
If we can find that, it's pretty late in the presser, Connor. But like or did he say that question? We need a it's a pretty good answer too, actually. He also said at one point, he just said, I'm T Sweat.
He is.
He's T Sweat.
He's T Sweat.
It was a great presser. His pressers are great. I mean, Sweat and Latham, they're good football players, about 700 pounds of football player. They're both, I think, going to be good. And they're both great press conferences too. Like they're great quotes. It's really kind of an amazing 1-2 punch here.
Yeah.
For the organization.
No doubt about it. So looking ahead to the game tomorrow night, Joe, what are 2 or 3 things that you're really looking for the Titans as they strap up for this tantalizing preseason contest against the San Francisco 49ers?
Well, I mean, if you're going to, the obvious is the offensive line. The obvious is Levis, Ridley. I mentioned earlier, Murray, Gibbons. I'm interested to see those guys work together. I think it's pretty clearly your 1-2 punch. And now, Cedric Gray has been a little banged up. And even before that, he was pretty quiet. So, I mean, I've seen some other guys, like Chance Campbell keeps making plays. Like I think he always does whenever he's healthy. But the Murray-Gibbons combo, definitely. The edges, well, no Landry. So, I mean, actually, I'm interested to see, like, how much does Arden Key play? The Arden Key thing's interesting. They're still going with him, a lot, like with the ones in practice. How much is he playing this game? But, I mean, Rashad Weaver's important. Jalen Harrell's important. Caleb Murphy. Shane Ray has been pretty impressive for a guy who's been in the NFL in 6 years. So, can any of those guys make any plays? I mean, I'm obviously interested to watch T Sweat. He's solo, no Jeff Simmons next to him, but does he come out and blow anything up right away? I mean, I think people who haven't, I think Titans fans, who obviously haven't been watching practice, you can see some of the videos for sure, but I think that'll be probably pretty fun tomorrow night to see him in the middle of that defensive line, and see if he can do anything in a brief appearance. The corner depth guys I'm interested in. We've talked about Gabe Jeudy-Lally a lot.
Yep.
To see if he can play. I'm interested to see if, like, does Brownlee, who I've been very impressed with, does he play a significant amount in this game, or is he considered a little bit too important to put out there for a long time? I mean, sometimes you have those guys who are kind of fringe starters, young guys who end up getting a lot of work in the preseason game, and then quickly they go to, in a lot of cases, it's your back of the roster guys. I mean, how much of this game is going to be occupied by guys who are going to be actual important players for this team? Brownlee is one of those guys I look at. I could see the work being valuable for him, but maybe they don't want to mess with that too much. I don't know. That's an interesting one.
Corey in Clarksville, our reigning Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League champion, throwing the question out there. Is it more Sweat being good and dominating the line of scrimmage, or is the Titans' offensive line just terrible? This is from Corey in Clarksville.
I mean, look, that's a fair question, but I'm telling you that Lloyd Cushenberry is a proven player in the NFL, right? I mean, this is not Andre Dillard. We're like, well, he was a first-round pick. Maybe it didn't work out in Philly, and they had a better guy and all this stuff. We know that Lloyd Cushenberry can play good football. So, I mean, I also know that Peter Skoronski is a talented player and a very powerful player. So it's a fair question. It's always a fair question. Anytime anybody does anything good in a camp, then they're doing it at the expense of somebody else. So last year was definitely Arden Key. Wow, he looks good. And it's like, yeah. But we also knew that Arden Key already at that point was a journeyman in the NFL, right? I mean, there was a reason he's bounced around all these different teams. T'Vondre Sweat is, believe me, it's not fake. It's a real thing. Like, just put him against nobody and watch him run around at that size with those feet, and you're like, oh, geez. You don't see that very often. So, I mean, what does that mean in terms of his production this year and all that stuff? I mean, I have no idea. But the bigger question about him would be, to me, just the game conditioning stuff, not the talent. Don't question that at all.
On the Levis front, I mean, you're hoping that he's in there for like 6 plays, and then that's probably it. And the offense has done well enough where you're moving on at that point. But I will say, like, I think I'm looking for him to be accurate with the ball. Like, it would be disappointing if they get in for 2 series or whatever it's going to be tomorrow night, and there are a couple throws that are just a little erratic. Like, you need him to be, number one, have command of the offense, know what you're looking at, all those things. You're not going to see like anything overly exotic from San Francisco. Like, people run basically their base stuff in the preseason game. So it's not like you're going to be dealing with anything like that's too crazy from the 49ers. So just be accurate with the ball. Like, put the ball where it needs to be. Push the ball down the field a little bit. I'd love to see that tomorrow from him. And then get out of there and have the Malik Willis, Mason Rudolph show begin. And I talked about that earlier this week. Like, I am legitimately interested to watch Malik Willis play ball tomorrow night and to see what that looks like, and if some of the apparent progress that he's made on the practice field actually translates to the game, and what that can mean for him, what that could mean for the Tennessee Titans. So, obviously, quarterback in the preseason, there's limitations as to what you're actually going to discover and find out there. But those two things, accuracy from Levis, I don't want to see erratic throws. And can Malik Willis translate what he's done on the practice field to an actual game setting tomorrow night? Going to be interested to see if he can handle that.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah, that's a good one. I will say, I don't think this week has been great for Malik Willis. He's had some really good moments, but he's just sailed a few, that have just been, it's like, how did you sail that one to that extent? He's just, he's thrown a couple picks. I do feel like now compared to a few days ago, I mean, I never thought Malik Willis was coming for Mason Rudolph's job, but Mason Rudolph has played pretty well. Mason Rudolph, like early in camp and in the spring and stuff, I thought it just was a little disjointed. He's kind of, to me, he distanced himself this week. That's just how I look at it. He's clearly, to me, going to be QB2. So how much work do those? I mean, it's those two guys are going to get most of the game. And Brian Callahan talked a little bit about maybe trying to give Malik Willis some. Is he just going to play with like the threes,
right,
or is he get a chance to play with a little bit better players? I don't know, but in practice, it's been 2s and 3. He's a 3, and that's how it's going to be. He's going to be in the team, and it's a good 3.
Well, then on the receiver front, yeah, look, Mason Kinsey probably going to play well in the preseason. Can Kyle Phillips handle a role like that? And like, I'll say this, Kyle Phillips was talking, it was either yesterday or the day before, I can't remember, about punt return, right? And now he's gotten like a fresh start as punt returner. I am interested to see who they trot out there and how many different guys they try at punt returner. And if Phillips does get the opportunity, can he catch the freaking ball back there? Because like we've seen it when he catches the ball, pretty good at being a punt returner, but the catching the ball has been a problem with him at times. So can he actually feel the punt and look like there's some confidence that he knows what he's doing back there if and when he gets that opportunity?
Yeah, to me, his path to making this team is that it's new staff and clean the slate. Okay, we've gone back and looked at these botch punts. You're doing this. Let's work on this. If he's clearly, because I think he probably is, he's probably the most dangerous punt returner on this team. One guy who I've, even last year and this year again too, who I don't think has much chance, and he hasn't really stood out to me, as Kyrus Jackson from Georgia. Like, yep. But that's the same thing with him though. That would be the pathway. So maybe Jaquan Jackson, I mean, maybe someone else is better than Phillips, but that to me is his way to make the team. Is he's so dynamic as a punt returner, and this staff has seen enough in practice that they trust him and they want to give him one more chance to show he won't do that in a game. Then that would be it.
Mo on the text line. How many series do you think Traylon Burks is going to get tomorrow night against San Francisco? I would assume that he might play a significant amount.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, but also I could see it being the same, just with the starters, and then because at this point, especially, first of all, you can't count on those guys to all stay healthy all year, and if they think, I mean, sometimes with a guy, how much he plays tells you, like it's like the more you play, the less they think of him.
Yeah,
and vice versa. The less they play, the more they think of him. I think Burks could be important, so I could see them looking at him like, well, he's a starter. I mean, they don't know exactly when Hopkins is coming back, so take him off the field. It'd be fun to see him play more.
Let me rephrase that. I'd like to see him play a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
Get out there, make some plays. And quite frankly, they're probably not going to approach it this way, but I would. Can you play a quarter and a half without getting yourself hurt? That'd be nice to see too. Get out there and play and make some plays and keep that confidence going in a game setting. I think that's the next step for him, right? Even last year before he got hurt, practice was not the issue. He was practicing well, but getting out there and making plays in an actual game setting, we just haven't seen that a lot from Burks. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, no, I'd like to see that, and plenty of these guys play more. I'd like to see less boring football and more, less football that's just about evaluating the end of the back of the roster, and more that's guys who we're actually going to watch play this year. But it's tough sledding in these preseason games sometimes. Josh from White House, according to Jared, Peter isn't looking so great and out of shape. Any opinion on that? So the only thing I've heard from Jared, the huffing and puffing thing that we've played before, I've not. If he's saying he looks out of shape, no, he doesn't look out of shape. He's in good shape. He's worked hard. He's gained. He had to add weight in the offseason. That was the big thing because he lost so much last year after the appendectomy. So, no, he's not out of shape. Is he looking great? At times, I think the Skoronski, Latham, and even in some of their chemistry on pass pro, helping each other out, I think it's been pretty good. And in run blocking, he can be a road grader. I think Latham stands out so much right now, that maybe he suffers by comparison, but I don't look at Skoronski as a concern. I'm very interested to see those guys and see some running to that side of the field tonight, because I do think that's going to be something we see this year.
615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your thoughts coming up next on the preseason game for the Titans tomorrow. What are you looking for from the Titans as they enter into preseason game number 1 against San Francisco? Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Are you disappointed at all that Jeff won't be there with you Saturday, that he's not playing?
Oh, no. I'm T-Sweat, man. You know? So.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Connor Newt here with you on this Friday morning. Taking your thoughts on the Titans. What are you looking for in game number 1 of the preseason coming up tomorrow night against the San Francisco 49ers? 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. We have Titans fans on the text line having nightmares about Will Levis in shotgun and things of the like. Multiple dreams about the Titans on the text line.
Yeah, I'm a little.
We need to dial it back a little bit.
And then this texter asks, it's like the ball goes over Levis's head. He tries to recover, gets lit up. We give up a TV. And then the question is, does this mean anything? Yeah, I would say, yeah, I'm a little worried about you. What it means that you're dreaming about Will Levis giving up a TD in the end zone.
Is it a premonition?
I don't know. That's true. If
that happens tomorrow,
if it does happen, then we know that you may be needed in some cold cases.
Yes. Gamma Greg says getting hit been a huge problem for Phillips as well. So I guess interested to see if Kyle Phillips can take some hits tomorrow in the game against San Francisco.
That's true. I mean, that's it's like catching punts and not getting hurt when you get hit. Those are two things that are important. Not helped Kyle Phillips, but he continues to me to be a guy who can get open and can make some plays. So much as that in terms of tomorrow, I definitely, and I've watched them both, but Jaquan Jackson, the guy this staff drafted, you would give him the automatic edge. I'm interested to compare and contrast tomorrow in a game setting with those two guys.
Well, and is there anybody else? We talked about this the other day. There's 5 receivers when everybody's healthy that are locks to make the team. So number 1, are they keeping 6? And if so, who is the 6th guy? Is there anybody outside of Kinsey, Phillips, and Jaquan Jackson that can even realistically challenge for that spot? All those guys play inside and have not exactly the same skill sets, but pretty similar in what they do. So, is there anybody else that even factors into the conversation at wide receiver? Or is it basically just going to come down to, are you keeping 5 or are you going 6? And which one of those other guys is that 6th guy at that point?
Yeah. And it's probably Jackson. But yeah, this is where I say, I bet you Mason Kinsey makes plays tomorrow night, and Mason Kinsey has gotten better. And so I think it's pretty close.
He will lead the Titans in receptions and yards in the preseason. I'm very confident about
it. That's probably a good prediction. So that, of course, doesn't mean that means that's usually a guy that coaches are like, yep, go ahead and just take the whole second half because we're resting the guys that we expect to be in the team and that are important to us. But I think Mason Kinsey has elevated himself to where he can be compared to those guys, and there's not a lot of separation. And no, there's nobody else. I don't think there's anybody else realistically.
A couple of questions on the text line about Brian Callahan and the game that he'll call tomorrow night. Terrell saying, look and see what kind of game Brian Callahan will call, the type of game could tell what they need to work on. I don't think it's going to be overly creative. No. You're not going to show a ton in the preseason. So if they go out there tomorrow and they struggle to move the football and all that stuff, I wouldn't be overly up in arms about the play calling tomorrow night. It's preseason and you're not showing a ton of what you do in the preseason.
No. Like Wes in Clarksville says, new players, new playbook. I'd play starters 2 full quarters each game, first and third quarter, but it's not the playbook, right? It's, first of all, in an NFL game, obviously you set aside your game plan. And so you rep those specific plays. You have sequencing in mind. You're looking at your opponent and you're trying to attack certain things. So that's different every week, but also just in general, you're not going deep in the playbook with this stuff. So I think Alex Montreal asked about how he's going to handle play calling. I don't know what you mean exactly, but I think he's going to speak words into the thing, as you said, Robby.
There is a speaker.
He will call plays.
and he will call the plays, and the quarterback will have them in the headset.
I mean, maybe I guess this is this kind of like a is this kind of I mean it is a trial run for him operationally at least.
No doubt, yeah.
Not in terms of like actually, play calling and how good he is at it, but like in terms of, going through the operation during a game and all that stuff.
Well, and I do think
so it's a trial run for Brian Callahan.
It's a trial run also in terms of like how do you manage the clock? Or is there a review situation? Because that's what we all love to see is lengthy challenges and reviews in a preseason game. We're all here for that.
Oh, yeah.
But in all seriousness, like from a coaching standpoint, like how does that operation work? Like the communication from the booth down to you and the decision as to whether or not to review things, like those things that will pop up in the regular season at some point from a head coaching standpoint. I mean, he's never done it before. Like there's operational things that he's now going to have to handle. So, like, based on what we've seen from Brian Callahan to this point, pretty smart guy. So I'd imagine he's got a pretty good hold on a lot of those things, but it is going to be interesting to see how he handles some of that. It's particularly like clock management stuff like that's going to be interesting to see how he does that as the year goes on.
Yep. Yeah. Gam and Greg, hopefully they don't struggle running basic offense. Well, that'll go back to the number one thing to watch when the ones are out there. Do they block anybody?
And they block.
I think if they block people, they'll probably run okay. Run some offense. I bet you Levis will complete some throws and they'll probably have some decent runs. I mean, the offensive line is right away when those ones are out there, on the stage. Very high level of interest. I apologize to the texters dinging me for clearing my throat. I'm turning my microphone off when I clear my throat. So if you're hearing it, it's going through Robby's microphone.
Yeah. We can't just both turn our mics off at the same time. It's called dead air. You don't want that.
I mean, I guess I could. Yeah. I mean, we could synchronize that so I can clear my throat. Hopefully I'll be okay now. I'm sorry. At least the chair works now.
You do look like an adult in this segment.
Big boy chair. No more Happy Meal.
Noah from Clarksville asking how many corners you think the Titans are going to keep.
That's one of those, it helps to probably go through the whole 53 because obviously it's like, maybe actually this offensive lineman actually probably is better than this corner, but.
Is that coming at theathletic.com?
Oh, gosh, I guess at some point. But let's go through them. Sneed. Sneed, Awuzie, McCreary, Brownlee.
Yep. Judy Lally?
I think right now I'm going to go with 6. I'm going to go with Trey Avery, of course, our guy Trey Avery, and I'm going to go with Gabe Judy Lally. I think those 6 corners, and I think it makes sense to keep 6 corners with Sneed's situation, with with Awuzie now got hurt, so that would be my 6, and that's not a bad 6. I'm telling you, Brownlee's a guy. Yeah, I bet you they'll probably not play him a ton tomorrow because he's important. But keep an eye on him tomorrow. 29, folks. He is. I can't believe that guy's a 5th round pick when I watch him out there. I really can't. And then you can ask, well, does that mean that the receivers suck? I'm like, well, I get it. It's like anybody does well. Does that mean somebody else isn't doing well? He's big, fast, aggressive, good ball skills. So keep an eye on him.
Yep, keep an eye on him. I mean, we'll always have our eye on Trey Avery.
Of course.
Hopefully Glennon will ask about him in the press conference too. It'd be great.
That's become Glennon's NWI. People for years now, every time NWI makes a play,
everybody just looks at
me.
Yeah.
And now when Trey Avery makes or gives up a play, we all look at Glennon. So that's his guy.
You're welcome, John.
Yeah. Who's Paul's guy?
I don't know. I mean, probably Arden Key, but now he's not going to be playing for 6 games.
He and Arden Key have had a lot of fun on the internet together.
Yes. PaulKuharski.com is a great website. You should check it out.
Austin from Clarksville. I asked this of Jared. I keep hearing how LTC is solid. A lot of videos I see, Cush is getting beat. Are we nervous about the center spot? Yeah, look, who's he getting beat by?
Right.
It's probably 93 or it's 98. I mean, and that's the thing. I do sense, and I tell you what, I sense audibly, some frustration for Brian Callahan yesterday in practice. Just a whole, get sick of his O-line basically getting beat. Right?
Just eaten alive out there. Yeah.
It's a great look for them Also, like, it probably does make it hard sometimes to get some stuff done. Like, it's a total pain. I mean, it should be the strength of the football team. We'll see if it is. But at this point, you asked me to identify the strength of the football team. I'm looking at 98, 93 in the middle of the defensive line. I think that's the thing that stands out about this team, that most teams don't have that.
93 is Sweat, for those wondering, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, get used to 93 and 98. Sweat is 93. So yes, there are times when Cush gets beat by those guys, and in particular, like, Sweat has done some things to him. Like, geez, what are you supposed to do with that? I'm not nervous about the center spot. I think he's a good center. But hey, I could be wrong, and maybe we'll go out there this year and watch him, and he'll get beat over and over again by a bunch of guys. I think Tavondre Sweat. It's like Brian Callahan said yesterday. How many plays in a row can he play? Right? That's what they're trying to figure out. How much can he play? How many plays in a row and all that stuff. But if he's out there and has his wind about him, he's going to be a nightmare for people. I'm just telling you guys.
If the starters play a good amount tomorrow, get a couple series in there, does that mean that they're going to be sharp, ready to go by the time the regular season rolls around? Because it's been the way a lot of people have thought the last couple of years when Vrabel just disregards the starters in the preseason. If he just play them, they'd be ready to go by the time week 1 rolled around.
Yeah, even though they're my computer's dying. Even though they're running vanilla stuff, and yeah, I know. Didn't we? I think. Oh, thank you. We're gonna save this. We're gonna save. Oh, it died. But oh well. Yeah. Yeah, we go through some examples last year. Like, there's plenty of examples. There are teams that do play more and they play well.
Yeah.
There's teams that don't play anybody who kick butt in week 1. Like, is there a correlation? I don't think
there are some that play in the preseason and their starters look really good in week 1 too. And there are also the Pittsburgh Steelers who look like world beaters in the preseason last year, and now the quarterback's not there and didn't go very well offensively for them.
I mean, they came right out in week 1 and stunk it up, didn't they?
Yes.
Or actually, I guess they were kind of giving the Bengals a game.
Is that who they played in week 1?
Was that who they played in week 1?
I don't know.
That might have been 2 years ago.
I cannot tell you who the Steelers played in week 1 last year.
That might have been 2 years ago. I don't know.
615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Could the Titans have found maybe a diamond in the rough on the defensive side of the football? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game.
you been seeing from the edge rushers beyond Harold and Arden, the guys that maybe part of that rotation or will have to step up once Arden's gone?
It's I think the one guy I have to single out that's been fantastic is Jalen Harrell. He has come in and done everything right, and that's a big step for a young player. And then he's actually shown real ability to rush. And so again, he's another player in a live action. We'll see if it translates to what it's looked like on the practice field. But been really impressed with what he's done so far. He's been physical as an outside linebacker. He's shown rush ability. He's made plays when he's had opportunities to make plays. So everything about Jalen has been really, really exciting. So put him on the list of guys that I'm excited to go watch play on Saturday.
That's Brian Callahan yesterday discussing Jalen Harrell out of Michigan. Had a very good camp to this point. I would imagine he'll get significant playing time tomorrow against San Francisco. What did you make of what Callahan had to say there on him? Very complimentary of Jalen Harrell. And do you think it's possible that maybe the Titans found a little bit of a diamond in the rough with Jalen Harrell as it relates to outside linebacker, where they clearly need some help at that position?
There's a Michigan man off to the NFL who's having a better week than a certain other Michigan man who's off to the NFL. Yeah, well,
he has. When you're coached by that guy, you have an enthusiasm unknown to mankind every play.
That's a great point. Well, Harrell has, even before this, has been getting pretty prominent reps, and it's like, wow, he kind of jumped the line a little bit. So you notice that. I'm not going to lie and sit here and say I've been like, whoa, Jalen Harrell out there, but the reps he's been getting tell you something. And Kuharski said this after everything yesterday. I guess I agree, but he's like, that's the first time Callahan has like singled someone out, like without being asked about them. I'm like, is that right? I mean, I guess that might be true. I mean, he was asked about Terry McCormick. That was Terry McCormick, by the way, not Paul Kuharski. That was Terry McCormick. I know that for sure. And he did ask about edge, but he immediately went to, that's a strong endorsement of Jalen Harrell by Brian Callahan.
Yeah.
So I'm immediately intrigued to see tomorrow. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, so does this mean that he has now elevated himself into the doesn't play much in the preseason guy? I don't know. But whenever he's out there, it'll be interesting to watch him. Rashad Weaver is a guy who I assumed would be, it's like, okay, Key's out of there for 6 games, which, by the way, still waiting on that news dump. Maybe today, maybe this afternoon on a Friday. But he's out for 6 games. And so I assume, Weaver, Landry, but maybe Harrell, and maybe that is, but maybe Harrell is the third guy.
Yep.
I think Shane Ray is still a guy who you can see them being comfortable giving him some snaps in an actual game. But it'd be a big development to be able to get a guy where they got him in that draft and to see him turn out to be able to be someone who could help them right away.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you look at his numbers at Michigan, and they're not overly impressive, right? Like he had 3.5 sacks in 2022. He had 6.5 last year as a senior. I mean, look, he's a 7th round pick too. So it's not like there was big expectations for him heading into all this, but clearly he has made a very good impression on the staff to this point. And, I wonder, like, is this the case of, a practice training camp type standout, and then he gets to actual game action and it doesn't really translate, which we see a lot. That's why I think it's important for him to play a pretty good amount tomorrow. And Callahan kind of talked about that like later in his answer in the press conference yesterday too, and just in terms of seeing if it translates on the field to game action. Like there's practice and then there's a game. And we've seen this from countless guys over the years of they look pretty good in practice, and when the game comes around for whatever reason, it just doesn't translate. So for that reason, like I would give Harrell a pretty good run tomorrow to see, like, can you make some plays out there when the game counts? Because it would be a great development for this football team if they got somebody at outside linebacker that they didn't expect to be a big factor that could actually step in and play for them and to be a part of the rotation, because they desperately need some help at that position right now. And if Harrell was good enough to provide that, that would be great for this team because they need it.
Right. And kind of wondering about Caleb Murphy and some of these other guys, right? And so, for him to jump them, that speaks well of him. then like you said, then the question is, can he play? And then can he actually make plays? Can he make any kind of difference? I mean, there's pretty good opportunity here for the folks on the edge of this team, given what I think is going to happen in the interior of the line. There's some pretty good opportunities to make plays. So we'll see. I got a few different questions about, well, one question about Stonehouse. He's not playing. I don't think he's going to play in the preseason. So, but I think the plan is he's going to be good to go. He's punting and back, but I don't think they're going to mess around. You don't want to mess around with, with him getting hit for one thing, which is possible in a preseason game. So I think they're going to keep him in bubble wrap until the season starts. And then a lot of Sweat stuff. Liam McLeod, this is a really long text. I won't get into all of it, but it's basically like, it seems like he would have merited a 5 or 10 pick, but where's the disconnect? Yeah, I mean, I think where he went was there were some people who thought he was like low first round pick. No, not
talking
top,
Sweat.
Yeah, I don't think top 5, top 10. I mean, what's the highest you ever see like a D tackle go in the NFL draft?
I mean, when you're purely,
no one knew Aaron Donald was going to be what he was.
Exactly.
He would have gone at the top of the draft, but he didn't.
Right.
Like, what's the highest that D tag interior defensive lineman go in the draft? Usually, I think it's usually the second half of the first round.
Teens. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Simmons went 19? Is that right? When the Titans got him? Now I think he would have gone higher potentially without the ACL. So, but Sweat, some people had Sweat late first round. And again, the people who had him way lower than the Titans and were criticizing that pick, it was absolutely all about the off the field stuff.
Well, I mean,
off the field / conditioning.
What would have been interesting,
kind of go hand in hand.
When you get like the special talent, sometimes they go higher. Like for instance, had Jalen Carter not had the off the field stuff that he had a couple years ago, I mean, he's probably a top 5 pick.
That's true. He'd be, I mean, you get guys who, I mean, look, when Aaron Donald did what he did, so then of course it's like, who's the next Aaron Donald, right? Like if people knew Chris Jones was going to be what he turned out to be, he would have been a top 5 pick. Where did he actually go? He was a second rounder, right?
Yeah.
So, but regardless, the disconnect, I mean, as a player, right now watching him, to me, he's a first round pick. He's a first round pick. Talent. He is. But the question still remains. I still haven't seen him play 50 plus snaps in a NFL game and be effective for most of them. I haven't seen that yet.
No, that question is going to remain, I think, pretty heavily into the season, right? Too, like is there an endurance level, and is there the consistency and performance to bring it week after week? Like that's what it's about in the NFL. So I think everything looks great with Sweat right now, but I think before we absolutely know, I mean, we'll probably be into October, November before we know that that's what he is.
Yeah. I mean, the first real game will tell us something.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, I think the talent is evident.
Tell us something. But even the first game will tell us, he played the whole game. Wow. Right. Or, see, he got tired on snap 3. And so, but yeah, it'll be some time. By the way, the Steelers, I guess Stilly helped us out with this, but others in the text on the Steelers got crushed by the Niners last year.
Preseason didn't help.
Tough draw, but still, yes, another example of preseason planning your starters looking great. Doesn't matter.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Speaking of Stilly, he will be with us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans and as they prepare for preseason game number 1 against San Francisco. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Connor Newt here with you on this Friday morning. We welcome in our friend Jared Stillman to the program as we do every Friday morning at 7 o'clock. Jared, good morning. How are you?
I am fabulous. How are you guys?
We are very well. How did the first pitch go yesterday?
I mean, so people are like, was it a strike? And I'm like, well, this isn't like it used to be where the players, where you have a player that would do it and they'd squat down and you could really throw it. Booster is out there with an oversized mitt. And
Yes.
I don't know if you guys are aware of the Booster costume, but Booster can't really squat down. So Booster stands up there with this giant oversized mitt, and I hit Booster in the mitt. So I feel comfortable about that. I didn't throw it over his head. I didn't, with absolute no is bouncing the ball. So I did hit Booster in the mitt. But Booster's mitt is very, very big. So, was it a strike? I mean, if the guy was 9 feet tall, it would have been a strike. But it's hard to, again, what am I going to do? Throw it right at Booster's knees? So I would like to give myself credit and say that had it been a player and had the player squatted down with a regular size glove, that I could have hit it for a strike the same way I hit Booster's oversized, garishly oversized mitt.
As long as you didn't bounce it, we're all good.
You threw from the
that will
mound?
never happen.
You threw from the mound?
I took a little Steve Avery swipe at it.
Okay.
Where they were like, please welcome from Stillman and Company, the man who's not afraid to share his opinion, Jared Stillman. And I got out there and I gave it a little kick, like Steve Avery, you just get a little, get a little footing there in the mound,
As the crowd roared.
It's been 16 years. It's been 16 years since my one and only pitching appearance in varsity high school, and that was against Maplewood. And I got the win in the game. We were down by 4 runs, and then we scored 5 in the next inning. So it was
Undefeated as a pitcher.
Undefeated. I mean, I'll tell you, it was really nice having my name printed in the Tennessean back when the Tennessean used to print such things. And it was very, very exciting times.
Jared, what are 1 or 2 things that you're really looking for out of the Titans tomorrow as they prepare for San Francisco in preseason game number 1?
So thinking about this, I'm like, okay, is it, what do I want to see, to be excited about? Like, what is actually, determining something that matters on the football team? If Tavondre Sweat goes out there and eats up that 49er backup offensive line like it's a Pac-Man video game, that'll be really, really exciting. But it's not like we're questioning whether or not Tavondre Sweat's going to make the team. So I do want to see that, kind of like the Chris Johnson first handoff up the middle for 65 yards and a touchdown that kind of announced his presence in his first preseason game. But then it's like, well, the coach, and I heard you guys talking about this, the coach was pumping up Jalen Harrell pretty hard yesterday, which I was a little surprised by. And so I'm like, okay, well, if the coach is going to pump you up hard, and we know that they have a massive, they have a hole given Arden Key's steroid suspension. It seems like the coach is probably telling us that, hey, don't be surprised if Jalen Harrell makes this team and Jalen Harrell plays a little bit, on the varsity in that spot or whatever. Well, you're going to be playing against the second and third stringers of the 49ers. So, I mean, let's see if Jalen Harrell actually flashes in the game when we can all see it. So there are things like that, or, roster battles or things like that that aren't as exciting as Tavondre Sweat going out and dominating. But you asked me what I want to see, and I want to see Tavondre Sweat go dominate.
Okay, what about the offensive line? Do you not put stock in them, their series or two, and how that looks tomorrow? Regardless of, like you said, they're not going to be playing the key guys for the Niners. I'm sure the Niners are sitting all those guys. That'd be my guy. I haven't seen that from Shanahan, but I'm sure that's the case. But
it wouldn't surprise me if you saw their third team start.
So how important is the offensive line tomorrow night?
Well, here's the question. I looked this up earlier this morning. Andre Dillard played 12 snaps in the preseason opener against Chicago. He played 16 in the second game against Minnesota, and he played 41 snaps in the third game against New England. Now, in the third game against New England, Skoronski and Brewer both played 26. Chris Hubbard played 17. So clearly, Vrabel at that point at the third preseason game realized he had a problem on his hands in Andre Dillard, and by that time, it was obviously too late to do anything about it. I wonder if Brian Callahan is going to play, and it's really the right side. Like, we know Latham's going to start at left tackle. He'll have some, rookie growing pains probably to get over. And Peter, probably needs to put the Kit Kats down for a little bit and get his butt into better shape And so maybe they'll play him a couple more snaps or whatever. Cushionberry,
There
who
it
cares?
is.
But the right side of the line, we know that's the question mark between Radens and PT. And so the question has to be, are they going to play him 12 snaps like they played Andre Dillard last year? Just, oh, yeah, go out there, play 12 snaps, come on, drink some Gatorade. Or are they like, gentlemen, here's your opportunity. And if you don't perform well in this opportunity against the 49ers third string, then we will be going and looking elsewhere. And I don't know what Brian Callahan's going to pick. You know, I asked him about the right side of the line yesterday, and he kind of gave a, half in, half out answer. I'm content with where they are, but they definitely could get better. So I do wonder, like, are they going to take how they perform seriously? Because I'll take it seriously, but if they only play 12 snaps and go get some Gatorade, they may not give up a sack in 12 snaps, and they still might stink. So I would like to see the right side of the line stay in with the twos. So when Skoronski and Latham and Cushionberry go out of the game, they stay in there for at least 30 snaps maybe tomorrow. I really want to get a good feel for whether or not these guys can play. And if you can't beat the third stringers of the 49ers, you can't play. So that's what I would do. But again, I don't know how he views it.
Now, we seem to have a little bit of a disconnect here between Brian Callahan and yourself as it relates to Peter Skoronski. I mean, Callahan seems to think Skoronski's in great shape, looking really good in camp, and it sounds like you don't. We have a disconnect, Jared.
Because they've officially made him a guard, unlike last year with all the yanking and the chaining and whatever. And they never even repped him a snap at tackle, but they said he might play tackle. This year they decided to play guard, and it's obvious Bill Callahan likes his guards to be fat. That's why Sadiq Charles, who has a career of sucking, got the first opportunity at right guard because he was, the bigger boy of them all. And that's probably why Brunskill has not gotten any reps really at right guard, even though they have a massive problem at right guard. So Peter did put on the weight. And so when I say put the Kit Kats down, maybe they want him to pick the Kit Kats up. But yesterday they were doing one-on-one drills. And I've made it a point in practice. As Sam Phelan was talking about this from A to Z Sports yesterday, he was like, Jared just goes over to the offensive line. He doesn't worry about he just thought. And I think the last 3 years have probably given us reason to, want to follow the offensive line. So yesterday they're doing 7-on-7. Now, I don't know if Joe was watching any of this or if he was just watching the offense. He might have been talking over with the TV people in the corner, not watching practice like he was on Wednesday.
Says the guy who doesn't even show up last weekend, but sure, keep going.
I showed up last weekend.
I didn't see you on Saturday. You
I was
were
there
nowhere.
on Sunday.
Where were you? Where were you Saturday?
I was there on Sunday.
Oh,
leg day?
where were you Saturday?
Rest day.
Oh, it was a
Like
rest
Jamal
day.
Adams.
Leg day.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You and Skoronski going out and getting big Kit Kats together? What
Well,
are you
at
doing
least I
there?
wasn't sitting over there turning my attention, talking to Steve Lehman about college
It was a
football.
punt period.
I had to go
It
over
was
to
a
Joe and
punt
say, Joe,
period.
no, it was a team period. You
Yeah,
were like,
like-
I watch it when they do the real stuff. I'm like, it's team period right now, Joe.
So let me tell you this
And so
story,
then Joe
Robby.
stood up and turned around and watched.
You're just an absolute
Where would you be without me?
hobgoblin. I mean,
But hey, back to what I was saying about Skoronski.
no, hold on.
No, this is more important.
I'm
It's
gonna
more
tell
important, Joe.
You can
You can
hold
tell us in a
off.
second.
No, you can hold off.
Anywho,
No.
in the one-on-ones
You just said
yesterday,
anywho. That is banned on this show.
in the one-on-ones yesterday, Skoronski was not only huffing and puffing. Like they had to bring out. They didn't have to, but it looked like
Huffing
they
and puffing.
needed to bring out
in
the oxygen
camp,
for him.
can you imagine? No way.
So all the
Go on.
offensive
It's a big
linemen
bad
that
wolf.
weren't in the drill were all standing up behind the offensive linemen who were in the drill. And Peter at one point goes down to a knee and takes his helmet off, and he's the only guy on a knee. And I literally looked and I was like, is there anybody else on a knee? I'm like, no,
Nobody on a
Leroy
knee.
Watson's not a knee. No, John Ojukwu not on a knee. No, Jalen Duncan's not on a knee. No, Cole Spencer's not on a knee. No,
One
this
guy
Scardini,
on a
I don't know,
knee.
is not on a knee. And he looked
Scotland
like
Yard strikes again.
it looked like they were going to have to get a forklift to come take him out. And then, Bill Callahan goes, I need a guard. And so Peter looks around like, oh, is that me? And then Peter goes up, and Callahan had some very choice words for him when he got
Bill
up
or
there.
Brian?
Bill.
Bill. Okay.
Brian doesn't do the one. He's over there doing the offense.
Well, if you were listening yesterday, Brian had some words that I was like, ooh, okay. Like you were probably out there hobgobbling with
I was
somebody.
probably watching the offensive lineman. This was probably on the other side.
It
of
was a team
Hey,
period.
in Skoronski's
Chief.
defense, Kit Kats are pretty good, man.
Kit Kats are good.
Pretty good stuff.
So I'll tell you the story. I was like, I turned around on my laptop because they were doing punt period, and then I guess they started the team period. Jared comes over to Lehman and I talking. Oh, you're not going to watch the practice? I guess you don't watch the practice, huh?
Joe's sitting there
Jared.
gossiping like it's the D Club. It's like it's practice. They're out there on the field. You turn around. Don't tell people. I said, don't go on the air tomorrow and start lying to these people that you were watching practice yesterday because you're over here
That's fine.
gossiping with Steve Lehman. So don't pretend like you watch practice.
If you're going to do that, if you're going to hall monitor people, maybe show up on every day. There's an idea. Maybe show up.
Again, I am a vested veteran.
Yeah.
I show up most of the days, but like not Jamal Adams because he misses every day for rest. But like some of these other guys, you know what? Sometimes the Lord even said take a day off. So sometimes you got to do it.
I did hear that Rexrode was hobnobbing with Ian Rappaport last weekend. So there's that.
Yeah.
No, 2 fake newsers right there. Just.
Exactly. Only one of which owns a horse.
Yeah, that is true. Jared, thanks for being with us. We'll be listening at 2:00.
Gentlemen, see you.
Thank you. Jared Stillman, our guest on Robby and Rexrode, joins us every Friday morning at 7. We'll continue to take your thoughts on the Titans as they prepare for preseason game number 1, including some news yesterday that I think may officially signal the end for a Tennessee Titan. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Get half off to this family-owned Chicago restaurant right here in Nashville. Winners of numerous Best of awards. Truly one of the best-kept secrets in Nashville. Staley's Chicago Italian Dining brings amazing Italian food to the South, including original Italian beef sandwiches, Vienna Chicago-style hot dogs, and the best gyros south of Chicago. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals to get half off a $20 gift card while supplies last. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We're taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025, our phone number. Let's go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in, Nate. Nate, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
What's up, guys? I know I'm a couple days late, but my favorite thing from Jared versus Joe on Wednesday was when they were talking about the Titans offensive line, and Jared basically said the Titans are screwed if one guy goes down, and he basically is guaranteeing one guy will go down throughout the season. So, I mean, why are we even having a discussion about the Titans if they're just done already?
Thanks for calling it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't doubt that, Nate. And sometimes Jared starts talking and, the eyes glaze over a little bit, and I just kind of tune out. But
I mean, to his defense, though, the likelihood is there will be an offensive lineman that gets hurt at some point.
Sure. Does that mean they're totally screwed? Depends on which one.
Depends on which one.
Yeah. So
if it's Latham, they're probably in some pretty big trouble.
Latham, and then I'd go Cushenberry, and then I'd probably go Mr. Kit Kat. Why did he pick Kit Kats?
I don't know.
Does he actually like Kit Kats, or is this just Jared?
I mean, I think we got some official word yesterday. Like Skoronski is what, like 8 or 9 pounds heavier than he was before the appendectomy last year.
But right, intentionally.
Yeah, exactly.
He's talked about. I'm sure that he was on a knee, and other people weren't on a knee.
Peter's huffing and puffing out there.
But I will tell you, Skoronski looks to me to be in good shape, and he looks to be playing pretty good football when they do team stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's a real
we'll have to keep
problem.
our eye on it.
Yep, keep an eye on it. I mean, I will say again, he's next to Latham, which should be good for him this year. And Latham is standing out. So, the left tackle is standing out over the left guard.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I think the Skoronski conditioning issues, I don't know that that's a big deal right now.
So, Joe, some news yesterday on the Caleb Farley front, out a few weeks with a hamstring. Now, I don't know what a few weeks means, but that would probably spell the end of the preseason at that point, or at least pretty close to it. I think it was already going to be pretty difficult for Caleb Farley to make the team and to be a part of the 53-man roster, realizing that he is a former first-round pick and that there is not insignificant money that he's going to be owed, but I think this probably is officially the end of the Caleb Farley tenure here in Nashville. And I feel so bad for the kid. I mean, obviously things have not gone well for him. The injuries have just been too much for him to overcome. We talked about him in the offseason and the work that he put in just to try to get back on the field and give himself a shot heading into camp. And there have been a couple times in camp where he's made some plays, a couple times where it hadn't gone so well for him, but to yet again be dealing with just another injury, you talk about somebody who just absolutely cannot catch a break. And I feel like this is probably officially the end of the Caleb Farley era.
Yeah,
in Tennessee.
I think it's like, I guess it's about 4-3 in dead money.
Yeah.
The cut. So I mean, could he be on? I don't know the extent of the injury and stuff like that. Could he be on long-term IR? I mean, I'm not sure about that. So, but you may be right that he's just cut. And yeah, it's tough break. It's just one more. His body just over and over again just hasn't been able to stay healthy. So it was I think kind of inspiring to hear him talk in the spring, about everything. I mean, he's gone through so much stuff beyond football.
Yep.
Way worse than the football stuff. So you have to like him and root for him if you are around him at all. But the writing's on the wall, at least for his NFL career, I think. So, he's made a pretty good he's made some good seed money here for his life as a first round pick where he went. And it'll be interesting to see if he decides to hang it up. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps trying to play and things like that, but not happening for him. And it would have been interesting to see what he could have become. I think he could have been a really good player without all the injuries. There's a lot of stories like that in the NFL, though.
Well, and the injuries, I mean, continue to stop out. Now, this one's different. I mean, it's not a back, so that's obviously the first thing you start to worry about from Caleb Farley from an injury standpoint is the back and everything that he's been through with that. But just another soft tissue injury. He's had the ACLs. Like, it's been a heck of a run for Caleb Farley in terms of the injuries that he's had to deal with. And again, I don't know what a few weeks means. Like, could he be back on the field in a couple weeks and maybe have a chance to play in the preseason finale? I don't know, but it kind of sounds like it may be a little longer than that. So not good.
Right.
He's been on the practice field. He left the practice field earlier this week, came back the next day, and then had to leave again. And that's not obviously.
Yeah. And the way, as we talked about before, the way to make this team for him was, to me, was like he's going to have to be asset. They're going to have to see him as a real asset on special teams.
Yep.
It's just hard to imagine, even if he came back, let's say, I mean, I guess you'd have one preseason game left and a little bit,
It's just not a path, I don't think.
It's hard to get there. So we'll see what exactly that means for him. But yeah, it's been good for him to be out there at all, back trying to play. And like you said, he's had a few moments out there, but just, I mean, you go down the depth chart at corner and there's quite a few guys who are ahead of him even before he got hurt.
Well, and you've got some depth now at corner too. So you add into that, I think regardless of the circumstances, it was going to be tough for Caleb Farley to have any sort of meaningful role defensively for the Titans this year. But then you factor in the moves they made in the offseason, the emergence of Brownlee in camp, and there's just, I mean, the numbers, even if he was healthy, I still just don't know that there's a path to him making the team. It feels like the Titans have kind of moved on, and not, I mean, obviously they had to with the injury situation and all that, but the way that position specifically has kind of filled out this offseason, I don't know that there was ever really a path for him making the team.
Right. Like Brownlee and Avery kind of give you a 4 and a 5, and then his hope would end to basically be what Judy Lally is, which is like this guy who's playing so well, you can't ignore him, and maybe he's the 5, but he's the 6 for sure. And that's where Caleb Farley would have needed to be, without Judy Lally being here or being better than Julia. Again, without the injuries, there's a gap. So it's as a draft, as a Titans fan, when you look at the draft and everything, it's an all-time bad pick, and it's the back-to-back picks there in 20 and 21.
It's about as bad as it gets.
Yeah. But for Farley in particular, man, talk about bad luck. It's just been amazing.
615-737-1025. Our phone number is 615-737-1025. Our nation narrowly avoiding disaster yesterday. We'll get into that coming up next. Tune into 94.9 The Fan today as the Sounds take on Indianapolis. Pregame at 6:20, first pitch at 6:35. Coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and at 949thefan.com. Sounds baseball presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, 5 Points Roofing, Caudill Vet Clinic, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Connor Newt here with you on this Friday morning. Tune in to 102.5 The Game this Sunday for coverage of the Cookout 400. Coverage will begin at 4 o'clock, the race starting at 5. Coverage also available on the 102.5 The Game app and at thegamenashville.com. Our nation narrowly escaping disaster yesterday. Team USA down 17 at one point to Serbia, comes back with a hellacious fourth quarter and wins 95-91. Steph Curry was unbelievable yesterday, hit 9 threes in the game, and LeBron James and Kevin Durant with just some huge plays down the stretch in the fourth quarter. Joe, got a little tight there yesterday for Team USA, but they escaped by the hair of their chin and will take on France in the gold medal game. What'd you make of that one yesterday?
Amazing. My daughter was actually afraid of me. Caroline sitting there, Caroline Rexrode, sitting there. We're watching the game live, and I'm like losing my mind. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay, Dad?" That was awesome. You know, there's so many things about it. One, I mean, Serbia, what a performance. You know, I mean, Jokic he's just, you know, obviously he didn't score and stuff, like his numbers end up not being good, but they are such a tough cover, and he's so good at hitting the right guy and just taking advantage. If you know, they're getting them on switches. They got those dribble handoffs where, I mean, frankly, Team USA was terrible on defense for a lot of the game, like going under, not switching, trying to go after steals, and all of a sudden, oh, there's a corner three wide open because you gambled, and including LeBron. But what an incredible performance, and how much does it mean to these guys? I mean, talk about absolute emotion, you know, during that comeback and then after the game. How much does it mean to these guys to win this gold medal?
Yep.
It means a lot. I just thought it was amazing. Steph Curry saves America. Good job, Steph. But you're right. LeBron, huge plays. Durant, a couple big buckets. And Joel Embiid. And people are flipping out about him and everything. He's getting booed, and you know, I see a lot of basketball media who are questioning playing him and stuff like that. But he was the best matchup against Jokic, and he made him work on D, and he made some big-time plays. I mean, he was big. I still can't believe people are like, even after this, it's like all this like, oh, Jason Tatum is going to be – I mean, I'm sorry, but like who – you're going to play him instead of KD? I'm not. Yeah. I mean, like I understand there's some talented guys on this team – who aren't playing much. They put in Anthony Edwards yesterday, and it's like, well, you can't play him because he keeps screwing up on defense. Derek White, well, can't play him because he's screwing up on defense. So, I mean, they went with to Steve Kerr's credit, and boy, would he be getting just
roasted.
Savage today if they lost that game.
He'd be getting savaged by me because it's disrespectful. Eric Spoelstra's not the head coach. But that's a story for another day.
But to his credit, he said, scrap the rotation. Steph, you're playing the whole second half. LeBron, you're playing the whole second half. And basically went with KD. I actually thought he should have switched out of Booker to Drew Holiday for defensive purposes, but Booker did fine. So it was inspiring, man. It was an amazing. That's one of the best basketball games. I mean, think about. I mean, watching Olympic basketball, especially as old as I am, for a long time. That's an all-timer of a game. So heartbreaking for Serbia because they really had them. You know, I mean, they had them in big trouble.
They had him in big trouble. I think we may be in for another really good one coming up in the gold medal game because
could be.
That is going to be a hostile environment for Team USA against the home nation of France.
Little home cooking with the
gold
refs.
Medal game. You know, you got Wemby out there at 7'9" or whatever he is out there just standing flat-footed and dunking over people. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. One thing that I've kind of I don't know if learned is the right word. And I know Steph went nuts yesterday and he's great and there's no doubt about that. But I think it's pretty, like we just kind of gloss over this. LeBron James almost 40 years old, and it still kind of feels like when he wants to be in this tournament, he's still the best player in the world. Like he's 39, almost 40 years old, and he's still maybe when push comes to shove, the best player on the planet. It's unbelievable.
Exactly. So I hope that MJ truthers like you are paying attention to that and what it means in the GOAT discussion, because it ain't close, people.
Ooh, ain't close.
Well,
we've taken another step today in this discussion. It's not even close.
Okay, it's a discussion, but the gap is widening. Okay, the gap is widening. No, it's insane. it's insane for him to do what he's doing. And if you want to make the comparison, again, the weight of the world was on this guy's shoulders. And hey, he was celebrated and he got rewarded right away, went right to the NBA out of high school. I mean, he's been playing in this league. How often we talk about hockey guys and it's like, well, Matt Duchene's only, 34 or 35. But it's like, yeah, but he's been playing in the NHL since 17, 18 years old. Like, he's been playing in this league for that long. That is, I mean, look, of course you're still playing if you're in the minors or if you're in college or whatever. But to me, the tread off the tires and the accumulation of just wear and tear is bigger if you're playing in the highest league that long. LeBron has been in this freaking league since 2003.
Yeah.
And no, when he wants to, it was like, well, he's got to take it over one way or another. He did have actually up 5. I was like, why did you just take that 3?
Yeah.
I was like, that's just, get Steph another shot. But, whatever, nitpicking. He also gets going downhill, and what are you going to do? The body control, it's all still there. It's remarkable what he's doing. He's the GOAT, and I'm not going to hear anything else.
Well, I've thought about this before. He's still an elite player, obviously. Like, if he just wanted to hang on and play and wanted to play as long as he was good enough to play in the NBA, like, how long could he play? Could he play till he's like 50? Like, how long could LeBron actually, like, if he was concerned about nothing else other than, yeah, I can still physically do it, and I may not be great anymore, but I'm good enough to be in the league. Like, how long could he do it?
It's a great question. And the thing is, it's like, you wouldn't think a guy that, like, built like him would be able to do it. You know what I mean? Like, you'd think maybe more like a skinny guard would have a better chance of just playing forever. Like Steph. How long could Steph play? I mean,
he's always going to be able to shoot.
Right.
So.
Like, he's at least a bench shooter for somebody for as long as he wants to play. But that's a great question. Maybe LeBron's going to wait until Bronny's actually good enough to be a rotational player in the NBA in like 6 years.
It's seriously like a when Steph has an open 3, it's like it's become a layup. Like I as soon as I see him open, I'm like, well, that's going in. And then every time it's in. It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it.
No, he's the best shooter ever. It was just so cool. I mean, you're talking best shooter ever and an all-time great player. To me, the number one all-time player in LeBron. And then, I mean, KD also is an all-time great player. Those 3 guys at their ages doing what they did to bring that victory home. Pretty cool. And cool, like the whole Steph LeBron thing. Obviously, they've been rivals and whatever and have had little snippy stuff. And that was – I mean, their celebration after was pretty freaking great.
Liam says LeBron could come off the bench and play with his grandson if he wanted to. Caleb on the text line. Steve Kerr is terrible. Do you think he knew that Jokic had 4 fouls the entire fourth quarter? How does he not draw up plays to catch Jokic in the post and get him out? Unreal.
I'm gonna immediately, Caleb. They went to the post, but they absolutely kept going to the post. They didn't finish in the post. So I mean, you could say be more aggressive, but ultimately, like, the coach can't tell the players then what to do. They drew up plays to come to the one side of the floor and enter into the post against him. He knew he had 4 fouls. They were trying to get it at it, but
Spo's drawing stuff up out there. Don't worry. It's all good.
Now, if you want to complain about Kerr's rotations and whatever, I mean, again, he would be getting just
cooked.
Yeah, he would be getting cooked today. I'm glad he scrapped whatever plan he had yesterday and said, yep, we'll go with the best players of all time, and we'll ride or die with that one.
I got a text that's really going to make you mad. You ready for it?
Oh, boy.
I got a text that says, LOL the GOAT, praising LeBron and the U.S. for barely winning an Olympic game.
Oh, my God.
The 90s Olympic team blew everybody else out every game.
Wow.
He's a gifted athlete, but he's not better than Michael Jordan.
Okay, let me pick this apart. First of all,
I knew you would love this one.
This is already a rant, okay? Do you understand who they freaking played in the 90s? The reason these games are good now is because of that team and because the world has come miles and miles and miles in 32 years. Again, the best player on the other teams was Drazen Petrovic. The best player in basketball, arguably, just played against the United States yesterday. A guy who might be an all-time great player is playing against them Saturday for different countries. Stars in the NBA are on all these different countries. In the 92 Olympics, It was a freaking it was a 16 against a 1. Do we not understand this? How is this hard?
They did win every game by a lot of points.
They sure did. They had no competition. Do you understand what's changed in the world about basketball? Look at the NBA and how many Europeans are all over it as great players. Did that happen in 1992? No, it did not. Anyway,
Tony Kukoc.
They did. They had Tony Kukoc. You know, Arvydas Sabonis. Look, the Jordan LeBron thing. We can go, you can go around on that. That's fine. People are going to stick with MJ, and that's fine. I feel very good about LeBron as a go. But the 90s Olympic team blew everybody out. No kidding. Bring them to this era and tell me they're not going to be in actual basketball games.
615-737-1025.
Sorry.
Our phone number. That went as swimmingly as I hoped it would.
Yeah, no, you love it.
The Rob rant coming up next. We just got the Rex rant there.
Yeah.
I am upset with the Tennessee Titans after something that I saw yesterday. We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Hey, Robby Stanley here. Make sure you select Twin Peaks for your fantasy football draft party this season. The Twin Peaks Fantasy Football Draft Party Package gives league commissioners and its members an elevated, easy experience along with scenic views, made from scratch food, and the coldest beer in the game. Each package includes a draft board, player stickers, a $50 bonus commissioner bounce back card, $5 bonus card per league member, and a premium table reservation with free Wi-Fi. Visit twinpeaks.com/fantasy draft for more information. That's twinpeaks.com/fantasy draft.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
And I certainly think that you can be whatever you want to be and play football. But I do not think that as a rookie, you can go in there and lead the team and say, hey, guys, here's my purse. I don't think you can do it. I mean, that would be like Caleb Williams getting up from the desk and bending over, so he gets up from the desk and bending over, and you see a thong in his ass. That's what that's like.
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rob Rant here on Robby and Rexrode.
What was that?
I think he was talking about Caleb Williams. I must have missed this.
What's the purse?
I don't know. Like, was Caleb Williams carrying a purse around? I must have missed this. I don't know.
I think he's talking about somebody else because he was comparing it to Caleb.
No, he was talking about Caleb Williams.
The whole thing was Caleb Williams? Wow. Okay.
I don't know.
We miss a lot.
I missed that discussion yesterday.
That was yesterday, Connor?
So.
That was yesterday? Okay.
Yesterday in the third hour.
Okay.
No context on that one.
Just keeps spinning yarns for us to enjoy.
Taking your thoughts. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. By the way, we're watching in the studio live some Olympic water polo. Serbia-USA rivalry is coming back.
Yeah.
There's a lot of head-to-head sports going on right now. Water polo makes me nervous. Like, I watch them the whole time, and I'm like, is anybody going to drown in this? Like, how do you keep yourself above water in this sport?
So, yeah, no doubt. It's a grueling sport, just watching it. And I knew a guy whose kid played this pretty competitively. And he said, what you don't see is when these guys are like lined up, there's all this kicking and stuff. And like they're breaking their toes on each other all the time. It's just awful.
Sounds great.
I know. Yeah, no, it sounds like a lot of fun, right? Yeah, U.S.-Serbia semifinal. Another semifinal of the U.S. and Serbia.
Getting after it. So I am upset with the Tennessee Titans. And it really has nothing to do with the Titans, with anything the Titans have done. But if you've listened to this show for long enough, you know that one of my halfway unserious, but kind of serious targets for the Titans this offseason at backup quarterback was our friend Jameis Winston. And it really had nothing to do with his ability on the field. Although, and he can sling it out there. You just never really know which team the ball's going to, but sometimes it goes to yours, and that's good. And he makes the plays, and other times you're watching the other team run back in their third pick six of the game. But the entertainment value with Jameis Winston is unbelievable. And there was yet another example of this yesterday at Cleveland Browns camp as he was hyping up his quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Here's what Jameis Winston had to say yesterday at the podium.
I think that's one of the things that a lot of people forget. When you can go out, you can see practice, you can knick-knack, this, that, patty whack, give a dog a bone. Deshaun Watson is going to turn it on. He always going to find a way to shine when the lights come on. Man, I just rhymed. Oh my, can I leave off that one? I know that one going to hit.
That's Jameis yesterday doing what only Jameis can do and making a rhyme out of knick-knack, patty whack, give a dog a bone in a press conference setting. Look, in all seriousness, I understand, like, Jameis Winston, I don't know that he's the ideal backup quarterback when you have a young quarterback in. I don't know that Jameis Winston is like that big, savvy veteran that you want leading the quarterback room when you've got the young quarterback trying to learn from. But, man, we have missed a gigantic opportunity here with the Tennessee Titans for our own entertainment purposes. And at the end of the day, that's really the only thing I care about, and I'm very upset with the Titans that Jameis Winston is not the backup quarterback this year. We could have been having this stuff all year.
I know. And what if they had not fired Vrabel and then they signed Jameis Winston? The race every day. Races could be every day here on the practice field. But
it's just a big missed opportunity.
It's a big loss, man. That's amazing because it was funny, the knick-knack, patty whack, but he actually then took it another bar and rhymed it, and then he took it another line and rhymed it. My goodness.
Porth.
What a stud.
Porth sent me last night because he sent me this yesterday because he understands my fascination with Jameis Winston. But there was I guess, I don't remember if it was Hard Knocks or if they did just some mic'd up thing with Jameis when he was the starting quarterback of the Bucs. There's a lot of things to choose from, but there was like one pregame huddle, and I think it may have been Hard Knocks, where he's like giving a pregame speech, and he just like rolls through this like 3-minute long rhyme of like Tampa Bay, it's time, and the whole team is sitting there like repeating after it, and it cuts to Ryan Fitzpatrick in the locker room with him, and he's like, "Yeah, the rhyme may have been a little long, man. I like the spirit behind it, but it may have gone a little overboard with the rhyme."
Harvard guy with some notes.
Yeah.
Well, that was a great. By the way, this kind of comes together because all these people in the text are saying apparently it was a Hard Knocks. Caleb Williams had some Gucci satchel. And
Okay.
so Jared starts talking about thongs. Okay. But anyway, but that was a great Hard Knocks. Was the Jameis Hard Knocks, right? That the Bucks Hard Knocks with Jameis.
Yeah.
I mean, I forgot about that. When I was thinking about great Hard Knocks, like I think about the Rex Ryan year. The Cowboys with Campo year was amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, the Texans year when Vrabel kind of stole the show was pretty good, but
Jameis
in the Bucks was a very good one.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of amazing because like when you think about that class and Winston going 1, Mariota going 2, like it's a pretty terrible class just in terms of 1 and 2 picks and the way that those two guys in their career played out. Like Jameis is fascinating because I mean, what the last year he was a starter at Tampa, didn't he throw for like 5,000 yards? He had like 30 touchdowns, but also had 30 picks. Like it was unbelievable. It's pretty hard to do what he did.
He was prolific. Like he made play. It was a play every time.
Didn't matter. Didn't know which team it was going to be. So like from a career standpoint, it's obviously been pretty disappointing with Jameis Winston, but man, is that guy entertaining. Now, the selling me on Deshaun Watson turning it on this year, I don't know if I can get behind my guy Jameis on that one quite yet.
As Dennis points out, also interesting choice of words there. I guess when it comes to Deshaun Watson, but yeah, well, he's supporting his guy. I really thought Winston. I actually thought maybe I've always believed like, gosh, he's not that far. And then he had the LASIK, right? He had the LASIK surgery.
I mean, he's not really had an opportunity to start for any significant period of time since the LASIK surgery. What could it mean?
LASIK, yeah. So that going back to those stats, 5,100 yards, 33 touchdowns, 30 picks.
If you just isolated the 5,133 touchdowns, he'd be elite.
I mean, if you
just
just cut 10 off that, that would have been an incredible season. But I kind of thought that in New Orleans, he might really get a run. He started 7 games in 21. And actually, I mean, his rating in those 7 games was 102.8 rating. He had 14 touchdowns and 3 picks, 7-3 an attempt.
It's better than anything they've had recently.
If we want to turn this into a little bit of a hot take, I'm not ruling out that Cleveland could be singing the praises of Jameis Winston at some point this year.
I hope so. if Watson,
we all deserve
if it's clear that by like week 6 or 7, Watson is just an absolute dud and he's totally lost it, you go to Jameis at that point. You just turn it over. We know the Browns fans are already out on Watson anyway, but Browns fans will be clamoring for Jameis to get in there at that point, or they'll be clamoring for them to trade back for Joe Flacco. One of the two.
Yeah, well, Flacco's a Colt now, folks. So last year, who was the kid? They had to go get Flacco because their backup they went super young with the backup. The kid from from Notre Dame, right? Is he still there?
Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Thank you. Is he still there? Is he there 3 still? Yeah. Yeah. So now it's very simple. I mean, you've got a guy who he's played at a pretty high level in this league. He's not old. I guess this also, is it official that because look, it was not at all once they were still with their teams earlier, though in 19, like we just talked about, that's the 19 season. But is it official that Winston's had the better career than Mariota?
Yeah, probably, but I don't know. Jameis never won a playoff game, did he?
I don't think so.
Well,
so how much does that count?
There you go.
It's like the GOAT discussion. You could say MJ never lost in the finals. And I'm like, well, that's true. He was also 1-3 in playoff series against the Detroit Pistons. So, however you want to dice things up, man.
Trevor on the text line says, if only the Titans had signed Jameis and drafted Leggett. I don't know if we could handle that.
I will say Mason Rudolph is very good. Oh, yeah, UCLA was that quarterback. I apologize. Not Notre Dame quarterback, the Browns backup.
They did have a Notre Dame quarterback back in the day, Sean Kaiser.
Yes, Kaiser.
Packers legend.
Yes.
That's right. Mason Rudolph gives very good press conferences, but they're typical. I gotta say though, if you want to talk about the Jameis and the entertainment factor, Latham's awesome.
Yeah.
Sweat's awesome. So those are two additions. Plus the combination of Callahan and Levis. Like I'm trying to think of like comparing that to like Vrabel Mariota in terms of like actually giving answers,
Right.
interesting stuff, entertaining. It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
This press corps has it pretty good.
Jameis is in a league of his own, but yes, it's pretty good.
No, you're right. You're right.
Zach in Nashville says Jameis does have a playoff win. I'm sure he does. I just don't remember it.
I don't remember it either.
Yeah, I'm sure it was great.
Now I'm. Tell us when.
615-737-1025, our phone number. TD will join us up next. We'll get his thoughts on all things Titans. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game. It is that time of the week. We go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in our friend Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD. TD been all over the place this week. Titans practice, educating people on Twitter Spaces, doing all kinds of stuff. TD, good morning. How we doing?
Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Pretty good, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us. So, TD, on the Titans front, looking ahead to tomorrow against San Francisco, what are one or two things that you're really looking for in preseason game number one that you'll have your eye on?
Yeah, my eye is going to be on just who comes alive. You know, you got the lights on. It's prime time. Who comes alive and elevates their game? I think someone like a James Williams, Jalen Harrell, those are guys that I think are really come alive. Bryce Oliver, you know, David Martin Robinson. I want to see some of these guys that have shown us things and spurts and see if that could consistently come to life on Saturday, man. I'll be looking for that.
Those are some interesting names. Martin Robinson, definitely at times you're like, oh, okay, you notice him. How much have you know? And James Williams is very intriguing to me. I've noticed Harrell getting good reps. I don't know. You've paid much closer attention than I have, TD. How much has he stood out to you? Because obviously Brian Callahan yesterday heaped a lot of praise on him.
Yeah, I mean, early in camp, he had a forced fumble, but the one that really stood out to me was a couple of days ago where he was dipping his shoulder and turning that corner against Leroy Watson. He did it twice, and he got home. And, you know, Brian Callahan he was like, man, get this group out of here. And then they switched to the first team group, got out on the field, and, you know, obviously the first team defense came out too. So he stood out, man. He's just a guy that he's a pass rusher, and he's a pretty good one. And he came in ready to do that. I've been impressed with him just for that.
TD, what have you seen out of Petit Frere to this point? And do you think that Brian Callahan and the Titans should consider, specifically on the right side of the offensive line, maybe giving those guys a little bit more of a run in the preseason game tomorrow than you would with, let's say, a Latham or a Cushenberry or somebody like that?
Yeah, I personally feel that they absolutely need to give Petit Frere and Dylan Radins extended time. You want to get them, you know, more work. You want to get a better set of eyes on them in game situations where you could actually truly finish a block and play with the degree of physicality to the fullest that's required. So I agree with that. As far as what I've seen from Petit Frere, what I've seen more has just been from a personal perspective. You know, he seems a lot more relaxed and comfortable, and I think that's a really good thing. And a lot of us, you know, have mentioned how it was almost like the Nicholas Petit Frere that we saw after he got drafted, right? And because he was a different person over the last couple of years, and I understand he went through stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, look, Landry's given him work over and over again. I mean, I think that's great that they're matching those guys up. That's a tough look for him. He's certainly lost some to Harold Landry, who's we know is a proven pass rusher in this league, but I feel like he's won some reps too. And so I think he's been fine. I do want to go the other side of the line, TD. I mean, are you noticing any issues with the conditioning of Peter Skoronski?
No, man. you guys only give me so much time on here, so that's not wasted on that.
Fair enough. So there's not a Kit Kat shortage in Nashville.
I don't guess so.
Good to know.
I don't guess so. It's good to know. Good to know on that front. TD, you know, every time we bring this up, we get text on the text line of like, oh, who cares? Or haven't we seen enough at this point? But I am genuinely curious because I talked about this earlier this week. I am legitimately interested to watch Malik Willis play football tomorrow and to see how much he's improved in a game setting. Do you share that, or have you moved past the Malik Willis intrigue at this point?
Yeah, no, I mean, because there's a lot of ability there. His arm strength and his ability to like use different angles and stuff, it's intriguing. And he's had a good camp. He had a tough day yesterday, but overall he's had a pretty solid camp. And he finally looks another guy that looks comfortable. He's finally looking like he's more comfortable in the offense, and you know, he's seeing it better and letting it go as opposed to before where it was a lot of times it was late and then he would use his arm strength to try to force it in there.
Yeah, no, I'm very interested to watch him play. Some other things that I'm interested to see, like Murray Gibbons in a game, however much I don't think they're going to be out there a lot. But the corners and the receivers, TD, and I guess some of the clarity is probably more at the back end of both rooms. But at this point, do you believe there'll be a sixth receiver, and if so, who would your choice be? And then on the other side too, at corner. To me, it's like obviously I really like what we've seen from Brownlee. I think Trey Avery is pretty solid at this point, and then Judy Lally has stood out. Would that be your back end of that room?
Yeah, Judy Lally, he resurfaced. He had a pick yesterday, darn good one too. So you're right about him. Avery, look, man, Trey Avery is getting a lot of work. He is getting a lot of work, and I think he's earned a spot. Brownlee, of course, and don't leave out Farley. There's a shot. Like he had a solid couple of days before he had the hamstring, but obviously, health is something that's going to continue to be a bit of an issue. But I would put Farley in there too. Now, as far as the receiver part, I think they do keep a sixth guy, and it's going to be someone that they have back there returning punts, kicks, and serving as their shifty slot. If I had to pick who I think they'll keep, it would be Jaquan Jackson. But if you go by pure performance, I think it's tough, and he has a good camp every year. And it's Mason Kinsey. If you go with strictly by performance, I would put him in there.
The Latham part of this, it's interesting to hear him talk. Number one, what a personality that guy has. It's going to be fun to watch him throughout his NFL career. But it seems like in camp, like all the questions that we had about can he play the left side and how's that going to go, it feels like that's been answered at this point. Now we'll see how it goes when actual games come up here. But how impressed are you by what you've seen from Latham as quickly as you've seen it at this point in his rookie camp?
Yeah, he has the full package. You mentioned the personality. You mentioned, how coachable he is. You look at, the athleticism, the size. It's all there. Everything that you want is there. And then even the willingness to seek knowledge. He reached out, and connected with Trent Williams and spent a week with Trent Williams and just was a sponge absorbing all that information and technique and everything that Williams has to offer. So I don't have any doubt in my mind whatsoever that he'll be successful. I'll be shocked, frankly, if he isn't. And I tell you, yesterday after a play, he was down and he grabbed his knee, and boy, oh boy, everybody was like, but he popped up and he stayed in the practice and continued. But that feeling of watching him, grab his knee like that, and that feeling that lets you know how important he is to this team.
Yeah, he's a really good football player, and I think T'Vondre Sweat's a really good football player too. TD, obviously, and Brian Callahan's talking about this yesterday. The question of how many snaps in a row and things like that, and as the season goes on, does his conditioning keep getting better? Can he give you heavy snaps each game? But at this point, that combination, Sweat and Simmons, how much of a game changer is that for this defense if it's what we are seeing now playing out in real games, and what does that do for the rest of the defense?
Man, it does so much. That interior pressure and the shift of importance in pass rush is really going to the interior pressure. Now, Aaron Donald made it easier, obviously, because of how good he is. But, getting the ability to press the pocket like that, if those two guys can do that, man, and push it back into the quarterback's face, like that changes a lot of things. And then also, you look at if you could layer that with Harold Landry, getting that outside rush, and it's like I told Jared yesterday, it reminded me of how I used to say the best way to play Lamar Jackson is. And it's like on national to a group of lions that pounce on him. You know, and that's the way you rush the pocket most effectively. And when you could do that, as far as that collapse in the pocket, and you have that outside rush, you know, forcing the quarterback up, he doesn't want to step up into that pressure. Like, he has nowhere to go, and he starts panicking. Sometimes with the ball, you know, in a place where he has no business. Other times you'll see him, you know, just kind of fall to the ground, right, because he's about to get sacked.
Well, TD, great stuff as always, man. Really appreciate you taking time to be with us. We'll see you tomorrow at Nissan Stadium and talk to you next week.
Yeah, for sure. Can't wait, man. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Teron Davenport, our guest on Robby and Rexrode, joins us every Friday morning at 8 o'clock. We'll take your thoughts on what TD had to say, your thoughts. What are you looking for in game number 1, or at least preseason game number 1, for the Titans against San Francisco coming up tomorrow? Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Appreciate TD for being with us in the last segment.
I very much apologize for even bringing up the – what are we doing here? Skoronsky stuff. TD just
TD
laughed
wanted
at
no
me.
part of that.
Yeah. Good for him. I can I just deal with this real fast on the text line?
Sure.
This is gonna be the death of me. So this whole thing about LeBron and all this stuff, right? This texter, unnamed texter. Yeah, I wouldn't name myself either with these takes. Says basketball is soft now. That's why. Where are the days of Larry Bird clotheslining someone for a ticky-tack foul? These kids wouldn't be able to handle it. Then I said, yeah, I'm rolling my eyes at your bad boomer take. Here's the response. Can't be a boomer when I was born in the 90s.
Well, that's true.
Tennesseans wouldn't understand anyways. Y'all never cared about basketball until Barnes arrived, LOL. Which I'm not even going to touch that. Like, okay, that's dumb. So you're born in the 90s and you're telling us all about what basketball was like in the 80s and 90s when you were either not alive or pooping yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you were born in 92, but I trust your opinion because you've gone back and you've looked and like there's a reasonable take here, which is, yes, there was more physicality. People got clotheslined sometimes going to the basket. Also, like people sometimes had wide open layups back then. It's amazing.
Oh.
Go back and watch an actual game from then.
This brings up one of my all-time pet peeves, which it's hilarious that this is always the case. But I always love today's players, they're too soft. They couldn't handle the physicality.
Yeah.
And you bring up Larry Bird in that example. Larry Bird, great player. All-time great player.
Sure.
Larry Bird was 6'9", 220 pounds. So I'm sure that LeBron at 6'9", 275 pounds or whatever he is would be very intimidated by Larry Bird.
Yeah. I feel like LeBron might have had a couple dunks back then.
How big was Bill Laimbeer?
Might have gone through a little contact. I don't know. Laimbeer was like 6'11".
Yeah.
You know. I mean, I love that era. I love it. It's amazing. I love football from all that stuff. Anything from your childhood, right? Love all that stuff. Why can't we accept that people get bigger and stronger and faster and they care about nutrition and training methods get better and skill level gets better and it keeps advancing, folks?
By the way,
but somehow in basketball, nope, doesn't keep advancing. That dream team would come in here and just crush these guys.
Bill Laimbeer was 6'11", 245. So
Yeah,
again,
there
a
you
good-sized
go.
guy.
Yeah.
But do you see LeBron James?
I mean, I'm sure he would have like punched LeBron in the butt as he dunked on him, you know. And I love Bill Laimbeer, but
now I'm taking shots at you guys.
Yeah, I know. It's fine.
The bad boys. Soft.
3-1 against Jordan.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Matt from Camden says, yes, Mason Kinsey. Let's go. It's that time of year again.
I agree with TD. Look, he's getting better. Here's another thing, right? Pro athlete, whatever you are when you come into the league, you can't get better. Mason Kinsey has worked his butt off to get better. He's good. He's good. He will make plays tomorrow. He'll certainly make plays in 3 preseason games, and he can make plays. He can make plays in an NFL game. We've actually seen glimpses of that.
Yep.
So really, that is. I mean, I think that's a really interesting question. We've talked about Kyle Phillips, and TD obviously has him third in that little race between those 3 slot backups. And I think I would agree with that too. I still think, Phillips has the feet that are they're vicious, but do you trust him as a returner? If you do, then he has a chance. Can Mason Kinsey return? That's something I don't have a great feel for. And I'm not.
We haven't seen it a lot.
I mean, I'm sure he has returned punts in the preseason. Nothing stood out. Kyle Phillips is a really dangerous return man. I think that would be what could differentiate Mason Kinsey from Jaquan Jackson. But again, you draft Jaquan Jackson, he has an automatic edge there.
Right. I mean, there's a built-in edge that's with that. Mason Kinsey, by the way, had, let's see here, last year, 11 punt returns for 100 yards, 9.1 a return. So there you go.
He had 11 in the regular season?
Yeah.
Boy, it shows you how much I paid attention to that terrible regular season. It's not bad. 9, that's fine. But that's, to me, it's like, that's got to be obviously a part of the discussion. And some of I'm very interested to watch the kickoffs. Now that we've watched them, I like the new rule. I mean, it's you don't have the guys with 40 yards of momentum to have these collisions, so it's safer. But you have now incentivized kicking off for a return. So we're going to see returns, and I think we'll see some guys break it. I look at that play now. I think, if I had a running back, if I had a good third running back, that's kind of where I think I might look at that, because it is more like a running play than a traditional return. But for punt returning, for sure, that could be the difference with those 3 slot guys.
Who is the third back for this team? Who's it going to be? Is it Haskins?
I think so. Yeah, and that's a guy who there's been very little discussion about him that we haven't participated in any, and I haven't heard much. But yeah, he looks pretty good. I think he's a pretty solid player. Look, I'm a big Julius Chestnut guy, so I'm keeping my mind open on whatever may happen from here. But I think right now, today on August 9th, I would say Hassan Haskins is RB3.
Well, and again, Corey Curtis brought this up earlier this week too, and it's a great point. Like, everybody, it feels like we get caught up in the third back every year in terms of them carrying the football. And when push comes to shove, it's like, okay, well, when are they actually going to carry the ball in a game? Right? Like, unless somebody gets hurt,
you have to be able to do it.
You have to be able to do it. But if everybody's healthy, Spears and Pollard are going to carry the ball. The third running back's not going to carry the football.
Right.
So it's about what other things they bring to the table.
Exactly. You have to be a core special teams player pretty much as a third running back. That's the case. So, I think Haskins probably has the edge in that way too. So,
Ethan from Lawrenceburg asking if they're using offensive linemen as blockers on the kickoff. I don't believe they're doing that.
Yeah, it's still like the sort of the mid-range size linebacker size guys, I believe. Yeah, I mean, you still have to have. I mean, you're still space and you're retreating, and then it's just like a way. It's a way condensed return, right? Because those guys are all way up now, upfield together, and the kicker's way behind them. But it's still in that way. I think it's going to be kind of the same sort of feel. It's you don't have that 30, 40 yards of momentum.
I'm really fascinated to see how that plays out. And if it, there are some people, like, it depends on who you ask. Like, there are some people that think it's going to have a big impact on games this year, and you're going to see games won or lost on the kickoff. And there are some people that don't think it's going to change that much at all. Like, I'm really interested to see how it actually plays out.
I think we're going to have more returns. It was 22% last year, I believe. So we're going to have a lot more returns. So yeah, you're going to have some that get you close to midfield. I'm sure we'll have some TDs on returns. So you just get more opportunity for it to be a football play. It's going to matter again as a football play. It has almost been wiped out of the game altogether. Yep. So I like the change.
Andrew on the text line. Under Ackerman, every punt returner sucked. I want to see Phillips return with the biggest idiot in the NFL not coaching him. This is from Andrew on the text line. Jeez, Ackerman catching some strays,
man.
On the text line.
I'll tell you what.
I will say, when the day they got Stonehouse killed, I was like, oh God, this is not going well.
Yeah.
Apparently Amy Armstrong thought so too. The next day,
apparently
he was out.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, with Ackerman, it's like things like that, operational stuff, huge mistakes where you get your punter crushed or all that. I mean, that's on him for sure. Kickers making or missing. I don't look at special teams coach. Punt returner botching punts. I mean, to me, that's more on the head coach, isn't it?
Yeah, you're putting him out there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, the thing in London last year, that's an embarrassment as we talked about at the time. That's an absolute embarrassment that no one on that sideline recognized that you just walk away.
Yeah.
But that's at the top.
Right.
Yeah, but it's fine. Blame Ackerman. It's like blame Canada. Blame Ackerman. Blame
biggest
Ackerman.
Idiot in the NFL,
yes.
Andrew says.
Yeah, a lot of really dumb people apparently around this last staff.
Top one. 615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your thoughts on the Titans coming up next. Your questions on what you're looking for in game one of the preseason for the Titans. Your observations on roster, which we've gotten a lot of those today. More coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game.
you hear the chatter before you were drafted, after you were drafted, about people wondering, like, he's got the talent, but is he going to be able to make it? And did you hear that? Did that motivate you at all? How do you feel about that?
That question. I mean, I tone it out, you know. I'm a mama's boy. Everybody know that here. I just go to my mom, chop it up with her, get everything off my chest with her, and go by my day.
I mean, that's Devondre Sweat answering silly yesterday. I thought he said bad question.
He clearly said bad, right? Bad question.
Sounded like a B. Yeah.
I mean, I was in the front row and I heard bad question. Like, he said bad question. That's funny. But still, he thinks he said that question.
Yeah, I think he said bad.
What is that? If he said that, explain that to me. That question.
I don't know.
What was Stilly's claim, that it was like this amazing question or something?
I think he said bad. I'm team bad.
That's pretty great.
It's not as good as Bryce Harper back in the day of clown question, bro.
Yes,
but it's pretty close.
Yeah. I guess I give him credit too. He said bad question. No, I'm going to answer.
I'm going to answer the whole thing,
and actually give you a pretty good answer.
Yeah.
T Sweat, man.
That question.
I mean, it's pretty clear.
Try it again.
That question.
Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah.
Right? Do we have to slow this down? Like
any lip readers out there?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I have this DM from Zach that's like 9,000 lines long about what some idiot was all over TD yesterday or something.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's what you mentioned when we talked to him. I don't know if hey Zach, I'm happy for you, or sorry that happened. I ain't reading all that. Give me the Cliff's notes. My God.
So it's too complicated to keep Cliff notes. Rowdy Viking on Twitter says, I like your content, but man, you post these live feeds way too much. It's my job, man.
Wait,
get the people in front. Apparently I post on Twitter too much about the show we're doing.
Oh, he said this on Twitter?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, someone's got to do it. I barely tweet anymore. So
it's part of the job.
Everybody's got to complain about something.
Everybody's always got complaints.
I want to bring in Dennis, our unpaid graphics designer, and also spouter of usually good takes. Here, I want to read this take from him. If you took today's NBA players and put them in the 90s, they would need an adjustment period of it being more physical, but they would adjust and excel. If you put players from the 90s in today's NBA, they would not be able to adjust to the skill and athleticism. I think that's perfectly stated. Now, I will say some of them would.
Yeah,
Michael Jordan would be a great player today. No doubt about it, right? But yes, there are many, many players from my glory days as a fan of loving the NBA. I still love it, but there'll never be anything more special than that time period. There are a whole bunch of key players from back then who would be laughed at if they tried to play in the NBA today. I'm sorry.
Would Dan Fouts be able to play at a Hall of Fame level in today's NFL?
Oh, come on. I mean, of course. Dan Fouts, 6'5", big cannon arm. That translates to any era, baby. Those awesome bolts on the. I mean,
might even have better numbers.
He probably would. Air Coryell. I'm glad. Thank you for bringing up Dan Fouts,
friend of the show.
That's right. A little weirded out by me, just like NWI. Can you imagine Dan Fouts throwing to NWI? Oh my God.
Never forget Dan Fouts on the show where you basically confessed your love for him. He was like, well, that's great, man. Appreciate it. It's my honor to be here.
Yep. All right, we'll see you guys later.
Thank you, Dan.
Erase my number, please.
Maybe time to get him back. We hadn't had Dan Fouts on the show in a while.
Yeah, we could try him. Dan Fouts, I mean, an absolute hero of mine. Is a much better player than an announcer. He was fine as an announcer.
Maybe we'll discuss that with him next time he's on the show.
Your announcing was
why did you suck as an announcer? Oh, man. On the Titans front, what are a couple things you're looking for in preseason game number 1 tomorrow for the Titans against the 49ers?
Well, certainly I was already going to be interested in all the edge guys, but Brian Callahan has drawn my attention to Jalen Harrell for sure with what he said about him yesterday. Actually, do we have that for anybody listening who wasn't listening earlier? Might be worth replaying his quote. It was a strong comment on Jalen Harrell. Well, I think maybe before the show ends, we can throw that on there. But basically, I mean, the word was fantastic. He used the word fantastic, which, is a pretty strong word.
Pretty strong word.
Again, he wasn't asked specifically about Jalen Harrell, and he went right to Jalen Harrell when Terry McCormick asked him about edges. So there's one thing for sure that I'm interested in. We got somebody who wants to cry about basketball.
Let's go to our 1025 The Game phone line.
You better be
Driven
agreeing
by
with me, Bill.
WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in, Bill. Bill,
Hey,
good morning.
thanks.
Thanks for calling in.
I'm not crying. That's for darn sure. I'm an older guy. I remember basketball in the 60s and 70s. The Bullets, Baltimore Bullets at the time, had a guy named Rick Mahorn, and they had Jeff Ruland.
Yes.
And I was listening to the Celtics announcer on WBZ. I lived way up north back then, Johnny Mose. They're McFilthy and McNasty because they were all over Dave Cowens. They knocked him down, and they're all worried about it. I love stuff like that, not to mention Wes Unseld, guys. Thanks a lot, Joe. I appreciate you, and I appreciate Robby too, buddy. Bye.
Yep. Thank you, Bill.
So wait, does Bill agree with me or what? So
I don't know.
Because it's amazing he brought up Rick Mahorn. Yes, I told him McFilthy, McNasty, and then the Pistons went and got Mahorn because they knew he was McFilthy. I've told the story. I'll tell it again. Rick Mahorn, I love him. I mean, as a kid, the greatest. I actually got to tell him this a few years ago at the Big Ten tournament. He sat next to me. We just talked all about the glory days all day. Love the dude. I mean, I'll buy that guy beers, for the rest of his life.
Imagine Rick Mahorn and Dan Fouts in the same building.
Oh, jeez.
Gracious.
But Rick Mahorn, I don't think he could play in a good European league in his prime. I mean, I'm sorry. I love the dude. He had no discernible skill. He's 6'8" and fat. I mean, I'm sorry, man. It's just there's
Rick Mahorn catching strays on Robby and Rexrode this morning.
I'm telling you how much I love him, and now let me rip the hell out of him. But he's just
I love Rick Mahorn more than anyone, but man, did he suck.
I mean, he was not good. He was an enforcer, and he'd go in there and grab a couple rebounds. I mean, again, Mark Aguirre was – I'll pick on my bad boys teams, my favorite sports teams of all time. Mark Aguirre, would not play in the NBA. He was a star, the number 2 pick out of DePaul. Superstar player in the late 70s. He's not playing in the NBA today. I don't know why. It's like someone said in the text line, why don't we do this in the NFL? It was tougher. You can call them soft today. Quarterbacks can't even get breathed on, right?
Yeah.
But I don't see people thinking that 80s or 90s teams could compete with these teams. They couldn't. They're bigger, stronger, faster, better, more skilled, more devoted to their craft, more devoted to all the things that you advance in athletics. That's why, you break the world record of the mile 100 years ago, and then 10 years later it's broken, and it's broken again. Right? We keep getting bigger, stronger, faster. People keep looking for an edge in athletics. It all advances, but not in basketball.
Hey, if Darko,
right, I'm done yelling about this today.
Darko Milicic was drafted in the 80s. Would he have been a great pro?
Oh God, got to bring up Darko now. I'm having pleasant Pistons memories today, and you got to bring up Darko. That's a great question.
Was Darko better than Rick Mahorn?
I mean, that would be a great thing. Darko very skilled. That's why he went where he went.
Clearly.
Right? Yeah, Rick Mahorn would break him in half, though.
Would Sam Bowie make it today?
Oh, God, there you go. Good call, Connor. Good call. Sam Bowie, for those who don't know, the Portland Trail Blazers took him over Jordan.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Blazers made some very interesting decisions back in the day.
They did. And they still
also took Greg Oden over Kevin Durant.
Yeah, well, that's a tough one. The funny thing is the Blazers, even with that horrible pick, and Jordan goes 3, Akeem to Houston was the right pick. That they still end up playing the Bulls in the finals, 10 years later. So there is that.
Kentucky legend.
Yeah, Sam Bowie.
It is hilarious to look back at the 03 draft in the NBA.
Oh,
LeBron,
don't even start.
Melo, Bosh, Wade, Darko at number 2.
And the Pistons had the best team. They were about to win, they were about to win a championship. And if they just take Bosh or Carmelo, good God.
615-737-1025. Our phone number. We'll wrap up the show. Your final thoughts on the Titans next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063 The Game. Final segment of the day, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Connor Newton here with you on this Friday morning, taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025, our phone number. Kyle in Shelbyville pointing out, it's nice to have a training camp without half our team going down on the injured list. Have you guys noticed that? I mean, they've had some injuries.
They've got quite a few injuries.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Yeah.
I
Jamal
mean,
Adams has the worst soreness of all time, apparently.
Yeah, they've actually got quite a few guys.
Uzi out, Farley out.
Vanette, who could be tight end 3, is hurt now.
Yeah.
There's quite a few injuries. I think Karski
Just
said
had a
it this
linebacker
week.
whose name escapes me for some reason.
Well, Cedric Gray is hurt.
Well, him too, but the one that was out for the season.
Yeah, just happened. So actually, I think maybe you just want it to be. I mean, Karski said the other day, like if some of these things were happening when they're variable, wouldn't people be losing?
People be freaking out right now.
Yeah, it's football. So we'll see how it goes during the season. Maybe it's different. And maybe the strength staff, because that's who would have any impact on this, not the doctors. Maybe the strength staff has a better plan, and it'll play out that way.
What
Or
if they lead the league in injuries again?
What's that?
What if they lead the league in injuries again? Can we do that for?
I think Amy might just bulldoze the whole facility and start and build a new one somewhere if that happens. By the way,
on top of some burial ground over here. What's going on?
Zach, I did kind of read Zach's whole thing with TD and this goofball on Twitter, and my God, what a loser. And
a lot of weird stuff going on.
It starts with something about a 50-yard run by Levis, and he said his source was Stoneman, and he's calling into Jared today to tell his side. Can't wait for that. Yeah. But I can tell you that Levis did have one big run the other day. It was I'd say it was probably about 25 yards would be my guess. It was actually pretty good protection. He got outside the pocket. He had one side of the field gone, and he took off. He looked good running.
Yeah.
If that's what this is reference to, it definitely was not a 50-plus yard run. And some of the other stuff I read in there is so dumb. I don't even want to address it, but it's just so dumb.
Well, we know
good for TD for standing up to himself and putting this moron in his place.
We know Levis can run. I mean, he's got good athleticism to him. Now, one question I will have. That's one thing we talk about things we want to see. One thing I do not want to see tomorrow is Will Levis running the ball. That would be great to not see Will Levis take off running in the preseason game.
Well, Patriots fans were pretty excited when they saw Bazooka Joe take off last night. That made ESPN's top plays.
Hendon Hooker, lower the shoulder.
Hendon Hooker,
truck somebody.
Yeah, don't do that, by the way. That was an awesome highlight, but don't do that.
He's trying to make the team. He's trying to establish a role for himself, baby.
It's his first football in a long time. Don't do that. But Milton did he's like, yeah, I could slide. And then I was like, yeah, I'll just kind of fall forward. I liked it. Milton looked good. Levis running tomorrow night. Yeah. I mean, you'd rather him have a pocket and be able to deliver passes and not be flushed out of the pocket.
I mean, I guess run if you're about to get killed. But other than that, don't lower your shoulder and run over somebody. That would be awesome. I don't really want to see that at any point this year.
Right.
Unless you're like going for a touchdown.
Or it's like it's 4th and 7. You're
Right.
down 4 late in the 4th, and that's the only way you're getting the first. Fine.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna reform himself a little bit in that way.
Maybe the Superman dives after you throw an interception he forced the fumble on that one, so that was good.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one.
Maybe let somebody else make the tackle. I don't know.
Penn State, I think, wanted to turn him into a linebacker.
Yeah.
So, or there was at least some talk. So, but it'll be interesting to see. I think it'll be about 10 plays-ish for Levis. Obviously, the Titans hope they come out, take the ball, go down the field, score with that first-team offense, get them off the field, and there you go. 3 and out, they'll probably see another drive.
How long do you think Sweat plays tomorrow? I mean, he's obviously going to be a really important part of the defense, and the reps in practice have gone really well. So from a training camp standpoint, I think it's gone about as well as you could have hoped from Devondre Sweat. Do you think he gets left in there for a significant period of time tomorrow? Do you think he's along with the rest of your veteran starters on the defense in there for maybe one series and that's it? How do you think it goes with Sweat?
I honestly think if they had their druthers and there's so many players they're evaluating and they know he's going to be a key player, I think they'd probably maybe wouldn't mind to see a little bit of an extensive drive from the opposing offense when he's on the field and see how he does on snap 5, on snap 4, snap 5, snap 6, But I'd be stunned if he played more than like 10 snaps in the game. Same sort of thing, 1 or 2 series.
Well, it was interesting to hear Callahan talk about like that part of it, because obviously the backdrop of the conversation was like the snaps that Simmons is going to play and the snaps that Sweat is going to play when the season comes around. He was like, I mean, you want to rotate those guys. He was like 4 or 5 snaps in a row. Like that's basically like the max of what you want. And then they come out and you bring somebody else in.
Right.
He's like, your odd guy every now and then can go longer than that in terms of consecutive plays. But he's like 4 or 5 is basically like the max when you look around the league of how that usually goes.
I mean, think about the exertion that's involved in that. And especially like if you're in hurry up too, right? And that's where sometimes you just get stuck with your personnel and you just have to keep them out there. But if you're going 2-minute offense and it's just pass rush after pass rush after pass rush, no breath between snaps, basically, that's not a great spot. But I do think that Sweat, I think the plan will be like they're holding a lead in a game. Yeah, I mean, I think Sweat and Simmons, they want out there on the field. 93 and 98 together, rushing the passer.
I do want to address this from Matthew in Nashville. He says, if he continues to miss training camp in the preseason games, does this finally cause the Titans front office to wake up and get rid of Caleb Farley? There's been no benefit to get rid of Caleb Farley prior to this year. Like, I understand that it's been a bad pick and the health has been horrible. But, like, prior to this year, number one, financially, it made no sense to get rid of Caleb Farley.
Right.
And number two, like, you were still hoping that at some point he would work out and become at least a serviceable player. Now I think we knew, if not after the first year, certainly after the second year, that the idea of him becoming like an everyday starter impact player for you probably wasn't going to happen. But you still we're hoping that he could carve out a role for himself. Again, go look at the finances and what the dead money would have been had they moved on from him 2 years ago or moved on from him last year. It just didn't make any sense.
It was a non-starter.
Right. Now this year starts to make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, it's like 4-3 in dead money. So that's a hit on the cap. But I mean, as far as like the Titans front office to wake up, Matthew, first of all, anybody who's around Caleb Farley roots for him, wants him to do well, but also wants him in the building. He does bring positive energy. I mean, he's a good guy to have in the locker room. I know that's not enough. It's interesting that we had TD earlier, and he is not discounting Caleb Farley as someone who could still make this team. I mean, my question would be on that. What is the extent of the injury? What's the actual time period? Could he be put on long-term? I don't know. Maybe he's on the team, but on IR. I would be surprised if he made the team, but yeah, they know the situation with him. Everybody's been rooting for him to just keep his body in one piece for a camp and see what that might mean for him. And to me, I always thought it's like he's going to have to be a real plus core special teams guy to make the team. But maybe I'll defer to TD on. I mean, I think he's made some plays. He's definitely gotten twisted like a pretzel out there a couple times. It hasn't been bad. But again, like you said, like we talked about earlier, the injury kind of does make you feel like this could be pretty close here.
Well, again, like to Matthew's point, I understand that purely from a draft pick standpoint, clearly it was a horrible pick. And I think we would all acknowledge that. I mean, back to back, you brought it up earlier. Isaiah Wilson 2020 and Farley 2021. That's going to be about as bad of a run as first round picks back to back as you're going to have. Now, but again, financially, it just hasn't made sense to do this until now. Like now, I think this is the first season where you can consider cutting Caleb Farley and it making sense. Like it not just being.
It's not going to kill you.
It's not going to kill you.
All right. Ben says, please remember the Colt I fumbled before Levis even touched him. Now, Ben, that will be remembered as a forced fumble. Actually, I believe officially it was a forced fumble. I believe in the book.
I think it is.
It was a forced. Now, man is starting slipping out a little bit. I'm going to remember that as Will Levis absolutely blasting a dude and jarring the ball loose. Yeah. That's how I remember it.
And then recovering the fumble.
Yeah.
Picking it up.
And then taking that guy and throwing him aside and That's how we remember things on WHMR.
I'm interested to see how parking goes at this thing tomorrow. It'll be fascinating.
Familiarize yourself with Uber, folks. There are some buses. By the way, there's some information out there. We probably should have done that. Next show, maybe they'll do it.
Maybe so.
Inform the public.
Have
Big
a great
Joe,
weekend.
Chase,
We'll
inform the
react
public.
to the Titans opening preseason game on Monday. Chase and Big Joe up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.